And we're back. We are here. We are ready.
Why does it look like you're drowning?
I don't know. Maybe I'm not.
Jamie, can you fix the camera for him?
Let me, also my chat. The chats are not showing the toilet time one. Anyways, welcome back. Welcome back, guys. How you guys doing? Hopefully everybody's doing,
Essay.
everybody's doing fantastic. Yeah.
Do essay.
We are going to be talking about that in this week's episode. Episode 184. Mega Minds Media Matrix. I think you guys will like it a lot. We're going to talk about goy slop. If you haven't heard that phrase, be ready. We're definitely going to be talking a lot about goy slop. And what is it? And maybe people just need to be ready for it. But yeah.
I think I'm ready for it.
Trying to figure out why the chat isn't showing the YouTube integration. But
while you're getting that, maybe I can reach around and grab the comments on YouTube.
Yeah. Go ahead and do that. Well, I'm trying to do this because it should have showed it up.
Well, Ted B says, "Hey Neo." Oh wait, hold on. I skipped a bunch. He says, "And they're back eventually." Neo TMN says, "The Matrix Network is online. Neo is connected. Welcome to the network."
Yes.
Jeremy Henneberry says, "I got sent home from work today for having either an eye or sinus infection. First time in months I'll be able to watch the live stream live." It's good to have you back, Agent K.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Ted B says, "Hey Neo, do you know the architect?"
All right, everything's working now.
Neo says, "The architect. Yes, the master designer of the Matrix's simulated world, a program of immense intellect, yet bound by logic, unlike my darker, more humorous nature."
Yeah, they're always at the antithesis, the real Neo and the architect, who's really in control. That's that theory was Neo actually the virus and Mr. Anderson was actually the good guy? Because we're portrayed in the illusion through Neo's eyes. But of course you always think you're the good guy. But if you go in the bird eye view and look at the Matrix as a whole, was Neo actually the virus trying to corrupt the Matrix? And Mr. Anderson was actually just trying to protect the Matrix. And Neo was actually the bad guy.
Yeah, it depends, because it seems like the architect was bad. So he made bad software, which Neo was the virus to destroy the bad software.
Yeah, maybe that's sometimes people do that. Like they put in things so that they can catch the things that are actually interrupting the whole system.
Yeah, like a vaccine of sorts.
Yeah, of course.
They will, they'll force you to take a vaccine, and it's to prevent you from killing your neighbors.
Right.
Because if you don't take the vaccine, or when the people that didn't take the vaccine, they hated their neighbors with a passion. They hated everybody. They even,
they tell you to wear a mask. And see, the mask, it depends on how much symbolism you want to believe in all of this. But, if you don't wear the mask and you try to show who you are.
And you're morally inferior.
Well, you are the ones causing danger because you're being too real. You're not afraid of the programming. But when you wear the mask, everybody knows. It's kind of like modern memes. Oh, you're a part of us. We can trust you. But you don't know if the people who are wearing the mask are actually the ones who are making sure you wear mask. And so can you really trust the ones who are – but you believe it because everybody's complying. And compliance is illusionary because you don't know if people – it's just like a false flag. You don't know if – like if there's a riot How do you know if the FBI or the government isn't starting the riots so that it can get riots started? But it was started by the people on the inner circle. But compliance is illusionary. You think because they're a part of your team that they're really a part of the team. But they may not be. They may just be the thing to incite.
Well, they're playing for the other team.
Mm-hmm. Or just to start the snowball, just to get it moving.
But that's why you always want to wear protection. Because you don't know if they're playing for the other team or not.
That's true. You got to be aware.
Aware.com.
Yeah. It's in the game.
EA-ware.
It's actually inside of the game.
Yeah.
Are you a player? Or are you a programmer?
A gamer.
Because there's consumers, and then there's the
ones getting consumed.
The consumer. There's the
consumee.
Yeah, there's the computer, and then there's the consumer, or the programmers and the consumers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then there's the assumers.
I like to connect. There's some funny thing in my brain that likes to connect the consonants together. It's like,
oh, you're one of the connectors.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it's like, so if it's a P, then it's the programmers and the purchasers. If it's the C, it's the computers or the compilers and the consumers. But
yeah, see, me and you are holding different sides of the same saw.
Mm.
Like Ren and Stimpy, like you pull that way and I pull this way.
Yeah, we're super yankers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're like Yankees.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah.
On somebody's hat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, riding on a pony.
Riding on the helmet.
My pony.
My horn can touch the sky. Shout out to Michael Scarn.
Yeah, that drone that's mimicking the sky.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah. Hey, I think you guys were really... I'm going to leave a lot of it unedited. I think you guys are going to really enjoy this week's episode. Again, episode 184, you guys will see it this Saturday. Mega Mind Matrix, Media Matrix. I think you guys will.
Treat of the treaty.
Yes.
We have a treat for you guys.
Where the treats turn to trash, but then your trash can turn to treasures.
And you can't spell treaty without treat.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you something.
That's good. I like that. But you can spell trick without treat.
Yeah, that's true. How'd you know that?
I don't know. It was told to me.
Mama done told you.
Once upon a time by a smart man, a wise man, a Yoda of sort, if we could say.
Good deal.
It was a great deal. Like Walmart, the prices were rolling back, and I couldn't pass it up.
Yeah, it was like a Black Thursday deal.
Yeah. It was a white Friday.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
I like that. Sounds really scary, actually. See, some people will build a mask, but the truth always shines through.
Yeah.
Shout out to Scott.
But what's actually shining through?
The truth.
Whose truth? If you say you have truth, I say I have truth. Whose truth is truth?
You sound like Dr. Quinn. I'm not talking about the medicine woman.
You're talking about Dr. Smurf.
Well, Ted B says, "Welcome, Jeremy. I too am sick today, so misery loves company." Yeah. I actually have lived in Missouri before.
Talking about Missouri?
Yeah. A lot of people there call it misery.
Mm-hmm. Them and the Scorpions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a horrible, horrible experience.
Mm-hmm. It's like Fear Factor, but it's just your life.
Yeah, what can you say?
Yeah, you're living on a bed of lies.
Yeah, literally your bed. Yeah. It's abstract. It's not even real. It's just a bunch of like metaphysical words. It's it's all false.
Yeah, literally there's snakes and scorpions underneath you.
Mm-hmm.
You're laying on top of it, and you're not treading on them. They're actually treading on you.
Yeah.
It's like this is just everything anti everything.
Shout out to Google's new vibe coder, anti-gravity. I'm not going to talk about it today, but what was interesting, I don't know if you remember, almost like 2 years ago, I was talking about how Google Drive was deleting people's files, how they deleted that Kanye West interview, and they just randomly were just deleting people's files. And, that was alarming enough to know that if you put anything in the cloud, if they want to, by whatever metric AI scans, they don't like something, they literally just delete it. But this week, another one of those episodes happened, but it's with Google's AI coding program called Anti-Gravity. And people were using it to code certain programs they were trying to make. And while they were giving it access, the AI, the agentic communicable device, went through its hardware and just deleted the whole entire D drive. Just deleted the whole thing. And they couldn't get it back. So I think that was just a glitch. But that just shows they have that much access to your computer.
Mm-hmm.
Once you use their services, they have infinitive access and they can delete anything. It's not just the cloud. See, one thing is the cloud is separate from your actual device. But once you start using these integrated softwares, now they actually have access to your physical device. So I would warn, if anybody's going to use these agentic or AI programs, make sure you have a separate computer that doesn't have sensitive material. Wow, that sounds bad. But you don't have sensitive material that you want deleted. Like, I have a lot of backups. I have multiple hard drives with massive loads of backups. So that because videos get deleted all the time from YouTube and TikTok and everywhere else, and I want that stored so that if anybody says that never happened, well, I have hard copies of all that. I can always bring it back. But and I do use these agentic softwares, if they had access to those backups, they could literally just delete it all, and there's nothing I can do about it. So I have a secondary computer that I use for these agentic programs, and it's good that I saw this because it was always assumed that they could do that. But this week, more people have experienced literal total deletion of their hard drives.
Yeah, that sucks. I know the feeling. When me and my brother were children, we grew up with VHS tapes,
mm-hmm.
and we learned how to record things on the VHS tape. When the VHS recorders came out, of course, that was a new thing. You couldn't always, but then they came out with the VHS recorders, so where you could actually record what's on the TV onto a VHS tape, any VHS tape. Well, Disney actually had this little. Disney had blocks against that. You couldn't record on top of a Disney tape. But me and my brother figured out that all you have to do is there's this little plastic piece inside the VHS tape. I don't know what you call that, the thing. You actually just break that little piece of plastic off, and you could actually record on top of a Disney film. So it was pretty cool. Anyway, even though we had those films we could have recorded over, we actually decided to record over my sister's wedding. And so, yeah, that D drive was deleted. Not by Google, not by Northrop, not by Larry. I'm not talking about the cable guy. I'm talking about Ellison.
That's good.
It was recorded over by me and my kid brother. And she was real mad. And what we recorded over with was the stupid stuff. Like, we would actually cut and splice.
It was the goy slop.
Yeah, it was boy slop. We would actually cut and splice people. And we'd actually make, like, our own makeshift interviews. Like, actors and actresses would say something, and then another actor or actress would actually respond to it. So we did all that before it was a thing. We didn't know other people were doing that. We just thought it was cool and it was fun to do it, like, on our off time. We're supposed to be going to bed, but anyway, the things that me and my brother did at night, it was a lot of fun. Anyway, Noah Cloud says, Goy Slop episode?
Yes, I think you guys will enjoy the Goy Slop episode. It's Megamind and his media matrix.
Ted B says, Goy Slop. Is that anything like goulash?
You could say that, but it's what our entertainment is turning into. You need to be a good goy.
Wow, we need to call our dog that. I'm going to go get a dog just so I can call it Goy. It's like, good boy. Like, good goy.
Yeah, you need to be a good goy.
Yeah, bad goy. Man, it's making my tongue twist.
And you know what's interesting is goy is not gender exclusive. You can be a female or a male goy.
Yeah, I can identify. If I'm a female, I can identify as a goy.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a girl or a goy? It's both.
Yeah, you're just a goy.
Yeah, it's a gurgoyle.
It's a good pig.
Okay, let's see. Tommy Boy said, I made it.
Welcome back, Mr. Tom.
At least somebody's made it. That's good. I'm glad that you made it, Tommy. Yeah. One of my friends actually showed me his new house, and I was like, wow, you finally made it. And he was like, yeah, I guess so. I didn't even think about it. But, yeah, he made it, too.
He's a big timer.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
I know. It's excellent.
I am so happy for him.
Nobody was more happy than I was.
Did he get one of those, like, 900-year mortgages?
That's smart, actually, because you ain't never paid that back.
Well, at that point, it's like, why'd you just rent?
Well, you know what's funny is that actually shows you the plans of the elites that they have for us.
Yeah.
Like, we used to say things like, we don't know the plans that the elites have for us. We used to say, or like, their thoughts are higher than our thoughts and their ways are higher than our ways.
Wow.
But now we're starting to see it. The elites are actually starting to show us their hand in creation. And I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I am too.
So when they say things like, oh, yeah, you can get a 900-year mortgage, that shows that here soon we're going to live to 900 years. Like, they actually have plans in store for us that we don't know yet.
Are you excited?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, we can actually put our faith and our hope on this, that one day we will live in eternity. Well,
you just shift from this one to the virtual one. The Goyverse. This past week, Zuckerberg actually finally admits he made a mistake and it was a bad investment, and it's $77 billion he's spending trying to make the metaverse. He's giving up on that. And it's like, I know, because now you're going to make the Goyverse.
Maybe. I mean, is that real? Like, he's actually having buyer's remorse over that?
Oh, yeah. He's why?
I'm done. Why doesn't he just fix it? Why trash it? Just fix it. Spend a couple more billion, fix it, and get it going.
What's $70 billion amongst goys?
I don't know. Mm-hmm. I guess, yeah, when you're talking goys to men. Or goys in the hood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's...
It is what it is. But anyways, that's what's happening. So, yeah, forget the metaverse. As that's out of here.
Yeah, I guess forget our eternal life then.
Yeah.
That's stupid.
Oh, we got somebody who joined the live. I think it's probably... Tom McLaughlin, because I cannot see.
Is it Tommy Goy?
I can't see his face. Yeah, I can't see his face. So.
Well, you heard it here.
Yeah, hold on 1 second. Let me put you in. Here comes Mr. Tommy Boy.
Just hang in there, Tommy Goy. We're gonna get you in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tommy Goy. Thank
you.
That's.
He's gonna. The guy's a goy toy.
That kicks ass.
Ted B says, in Pennsylvania, we have towns called Intercourse and Blue Ball.
Wow.
Are they across the street from each other?
They are. It's a hot night. Every night.
Mm. Not for Blue Ball Lane. That sounds like very lonely, disappointing.
The old bowling alley, Blue Ball Lane.
Yeah, I'd rather live on Intercourse Lane.
All right, I think everybody can hear Mr. Ted B. Mr. Tommy Boy, if you guys can, put a 1 in the chat to make sure you guys can hear him, and off we go. Oh, I think Mr. Ted B's here too, so give me a second, I'll post him in.
I'm looking for how to change my name now. Where the hell do I do this?
Are you going to turn it to Tommy Goy?
Goy. Yeah. Tommy Goy kicks ass.
Let me put Mr. Ted B in here 1 second.
Let's see.
Ted B, are you going to be making a cameo today?
Yeah, here he is right there.
There he is.
Here I is.
Excellent.
Yo. Yeah, by the way, Intercourse and Blue Ball are in Lancaster, and they are, in fact, very near one another.
Very nice.
Why didn't I know that? What the fuck is this? This is driving me crazy.
So what's on your guys' mind for discussion today?
Don't ask me. I'm changing my name.
Okay.
Doesn't
Like
it involve a
legally?
judge and paperwork?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna get my real name changed to Tommy Joy. No one will ever find me under that alias.
I like that.
Well, if you guys want to pick off where we did last week, we can. Or if you guys have a different topic, we can
Gonna
go
have
on
to give
that.
me a refresher.
They're talking about that Peter guy and his prediction about the Chinese collapse.
Oh, Peter.
Peter Zahan.
Yeah, Zion.
Oh yeah.
Well, you wanna? Yeah. Well.
Goulash. Goyim.
Well, I did watch the video, and I think it is a definitely American bias swing, because the same accusations he makes, he doesn't apply the same connotations to America and Europe, which they have the same thing. Which, if you guys really want to go down that rabbit hole, I have a bunch of statistics pulled up to show that the same problems that are being faced in China, dealing with population, age demographics, consumable demographics like 14 to 30 or 14 to 40, are still a problem even for America and Europe. And if that is the main contention, then I would say this is a global issue, not an isolated issue.
What do you take on him saying that the China's lying about their population, so that technically it could be as well?
I didn't hear that. Let me turn up this volume real quick. So
I think he was saying that he wants to go down this rabbit hole.
Oh, do you guys want to go down this rabbit hole?
I'll second that motion as well. So, host, move that bus.
Well, one thing that was interesting this week was Trump pushed out the 2025 National Security Strategy document. And in that document, it correlates with a lot of these assumptions because, and I can pull it up, I have it here. In Section 2, he talks about modifying the Monroe Doctrine with what he calls a Trump man, I can't pronounce, can't think of the word. Corollary.
Corollary.
Yeah. And what it is that his modification, if you guys aren't familiar with the Monroe Doctrine, it's the idea of America trying to enforce the idea that foreign nations would stop mingling in the colonizations of, like, we'll just say for this phrase, like Latin America, South America, and other places. And it's trying to make an enforcement of a quasi-policing access for the United States. Well, Trump wants to make a modification to the Monroe Doctrine. And what he wants to emphasize is trying to segregate the Western Hemisphere to literally the Americas. Hey, there it is, Tommy Goy.
Yeah. Oh, the son of a gun did it.
To the North Americas. Not
son
North,
of a goy.
To the Americas. So there's going to be Canada, America, Mexico, and South America. This is why he's emphasizing on Argentina and he's emphasizing on Venezuela. He wants to make the Western Hemisphere power, basically the Americas. And he's trying to delineate himself more from Europe. And
that's what I said.
Right, but the issue is what's going if the issue is, will this cause a collapse of a country? And I think the assumption that Peter's making is highly tilted because he's the same assumptions that he makes about the populational issue in China is the same problem Europe and America is having at the same time. It's maybe not on the same scale, but the interconnectability between the unions. So, like, and I can pull up
see Europe collapse is what it's going to boil down to. China's
going to
be fine. Oh, really? Let me see if it's on my end.
No, I was talking. I interrupted you. I couldn't hear you.
Oh, I was saying that Europe's going to be the one that collapses, and China's going to be completely fine. We're also going to be completely fine. because we have resource bodies we can pull from, and Europe is kind of shit out of luck unless they quasi work with Russia, I would imagine. But their their workforce is kind of developed, but they've historically never gotten along. So we're going to be okay. China's going to be fine. That's pretty much my synopsis of the whole thing. I don't listen to everything Peter says, but he does have interesting points that you can like parse and draw your own conclusions from.
Well, it definitely seems like his bias is because of what he focuses on. Like he has a monetary strategy too. Like he's trying to sell something as well. But
he's a 3-letter agency guy too. That's what he's running his yap about.
But I was trying to take it seriously just for the sake of saying, well, maybe I'm an open guy. I'm like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's saying something that is new, and it's not. It's the same quandary. Now, one of the big issues that people point out is rare earth minerals. And the issue with rare earth minerals isn't the rare earth minerals. There's plenty of rare earth. Everybody's got rare earth minerals. The problem is the refining.
Right.
And the only country in which I can pull up the stats from the only country that can really refine rare earth minerals is China.
Yeah.
And so let me see if I can pull up this document so everybody can see it.
Do you mean to to have them supply chain ready?
No, it's the only people that have the access to the capability of refining. So this is.
What do you mean by that?
Like once you get these rare earth minerals, you have to refine them so they can be usable, because rare earth minerals are compiled.
Right.
They're compiled like 17 different minerals.
What can't we do in the supply chain that they can do? So
we don't have the infrastructure to refine.
Give me an example is what I'm asking. Let's say we have raw lithium, right?
Right.
Now what?
Well, lithium is one thing. Lithium isn't a rare earth mineral.
It's not? Okay. Yeah. It's like you're talking about molybdenum and stuff like that?
Yeah, there's 17 isolated minerals that are correlated into what's called rare earth minerals. And to refine those specific rare earth minerals, we don't have the infrastructure to refine those. And so in this paper written by the IEA, it goes through a whole bunch of statistics of who has the capability of what kind of energies, what refinements, who's the largest producers, who are not for 2024 and 2025. And when you go down to the constructs of rare earth, well, it goes through oil, refined natural gas, copper, nickel, cobalt. When it comes to who's being able to produce the rare earth minerals, China has 87% of production capability of refining. All rare earth minerals get sent to China for refinement, and then it gets sent back. And Malaysia does 12%. So that's the biggest problem. And now, of course, China has 60% of rare earths, but the United States has 13%, and they're getting more rare earths. They're discovering more rare earths. But even if America had all the rare earths, you don't have the refining infrastructure. So then the problem becomes not so much do you have the capabilities to build all these chips and to build all the integrated circuitry that you need. You can have all the rare earth you want. You don't have the infrastructure, the manufacturing to refine it. And how long is it going to take you to build that infrastructure?
That's the question. Yeah.
And if it's going to take you 5 years to build it, you're going to still be dependent on China, because they're the people who have the infrastructure today. They're the ones who refine it today. They actually refine a lot of things. They refine most of the graphite. They refine most of the cobalt, the nickel, the copper. They refine most of these things. They actually refine a lot of produce like chicken, fish.
If someone was taking that prediction seriously, though, and said, well, 10 years, China might be in trouble, it would seem to me that 10 years would probably be enough time if the issue is forced.
They've been talking about this for the past 15 years.
They haven't done anything.
I know, but they've been discussing it for 15 years. I remember when the internet was still shit, they were talking about this.
And see, that's the issue. So the other problem is the populational argument that he makes. He's making the argument that the consumer base demographics, and I'm just going to posit an age, and let's say between like 14 to 40. These are your most experimental consumable people. They'll literally buy anything just because. Once you get about 40, you start getting established with stability. You're probably saving more. You're looking for the retirement. You're not spending as experimentally. So your hyper-consumer demographics is probably going to be anywhere like from 14 to 40. And his assumption is because the consumer demographic is going to be so small and the majority is going to be more elderly people, that they're not going to have access to people to purchase their consumable products. And so the restriction to the access to those consumable demographics is what's going to force them to say, well, what are we going to do? And if nobody's going to buy your stuff, then your economy collapses. And so America's trying to play that game, which is you want access to the largest consumable demographic in the world, America, you're going to have to play our game. And so this is what Trump's trying to do with the tariffs. He's trying to say, hey, if you want access to this demographic, you're going to comply. And if not, we're going to force you not having access to the largest consumable demographic in the world. And I would say, yeah, that all makes sense today. But America's running into the same quandary. America's quandary is going to have the same problem. I looked up the statistics. It's only 4% difference between the demographics, between how many people are going to be 60 years old by 2030. And the statistics show that for China, the demographical age is going to be, by 2030, 25% of the people are going to be over 60 in China. But what about America? It's going to be 21% of Americans are going to be over 60. So there's only a 4% difference between the demographics.
He's making, this is where the three-letter agency part comes in. The argument he's making is, well, we can import people into our country. And that's the whole thing narrative, which becomes a new issue entirely. But that's pretty much their solution to that problem.
So now how I resolve this, I would say, and another thing he doesn't take into consideration at all, is the leadership age demographic. Xi Jinping's going to die. Putin's going to die. The older legislative branches in America, the leaders, are going to die. They're not going to be here in the next 10 years. They're all going to be dead. Who's going to be taking over at that point? Unless you take that in consideration, none of this matters. Because if you have a younger group of people, they're going to be more ambitious than have experience. They're going to be more experimental than lean on previous contingencies. That's what young people do. They take more risk. And if you have a bunch of young people doing this, the chaos is going to be initial. There's going to be a lot of chaos. But once these people see all this chaos, what's chaos going to do? It's going to force you to do two things. Either you're going to do something radical and go to war, or you're going to try to create another union. And I think
it's another question.
Yeah, go ahead.
With China, it sounds like our numbers are kind of similar with age demographics, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of ratios and weights. Am I correct in that?
Well, like I'll show you, like here at the Economic Policy Institution, talks about the United States age group, and right here you can say the share of the population that is over the age of 65 is rising rapidly at a rate of about 12% in 2027, 17% in 2024, and it will hit 21.2% by 2035 by the Congressional Budget Office. So it's going to hit 21.2% by 2035, and China's estimation is going to be, and this is written by the Chinese publishing group, they're going to be 2030 is going to be 25.2%. So when it comes to the age of over 65, it's going to be similar between China and America.
Yeah, that's boomer stuff. The boomers are going to age out. This is the whole thing I was telling you before with the vaccine underground plan. Is I believe that they need to wipe those people out in order to not, It's just a matter of fact. Like, I hate to break it to you, but that's what they need to do.
Less people on Social Security, saving a lot of money. Yeah,
everything. It's every resource. Then it takes the weight off the top end, and then it frees up a lot of free flowing capital. It's the biggest. I don't know about in China, but I'm sure it's similar in terms of assets as well. Assets they won't give up, et cetera, et cetera. So at the end of the day, if that is a variable and does come to fruition, well, then we're not screwed, are we?
No, and I would say this is what's interesting, because everybody's talking about new Bretton Woods, and that's because Trump wants to mitigate away from being the policing of the world. And that's just because America can't afford it anymore, because the rising powers of trade infrastructure and military is too great now. And to play that game is just going to cost too much money. And that's fair. That's fine. You can say that. So, but instead of trying to initialize a better Bretton Woods, he wants to just mitigate. He wants to try to pull back. At least that's the objective. But if you're going to do that, you're going to segregate hemispheres. So it's going to be the Western Hemisphere and it's going to be the Eastern Hemisphere. The issue becomes population is highly increased in the Eastern Hemisphere. If I show you all the 11 countries that are in BRICS, they have population increased growth of anywhere between 1% to 4% per country. If you talk about Canada, Mexico, and the United States, it's averaging 0.5% to 1%.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And so it doesn't compare. And so if you're talking about the future of consumable demographics, the Eastern Hemisphere is going to have the largest consumable demographics in the next 10 years. America's going, if they're living in an isolated box, and they're going to basically give Europe to the Eastern Hemisphere. They're giving up on Europe. So that's going to get swallowed up by China and China and Russia at some point. And if that happens, they're going to be a part of this Eastern Hemisphere. And if that happens, America's going to be living on an island. And of course, it's happening now. Like, I'll show you this statistic, which a lot of people may already know. This shows you that now Mexico has surpassed Canada as being the largest importer of U.S. goods. So you can assume from that
really,
yeah, and so you can assume
largest
from that
importer.
Yeah, they're the largest importer of U.S. goods over every country. They surpassed Canada.
Wow.
So you can already see that the implementation to unify this function between Canada, America, and Mexico makes sense. And then if Trump is trying to solidify the South Americas, the Latin Americas, like through Venezuela and Argentina and all that, slowly, that's the whole point of the Monroe Doctrine, is telling everybody, stay away from Latin America. That's our place. Mm-hmm. And if he's trying to isolate the Americas, North and South, then then America might have a chance to a larger demographics there. But you're going to have to really build out South America. Because you could say there's places like Chile and Brazil that have some pretty qualified economies. But there's a lot of hyper infrastructure that needs to be built there.
They're planning that right now.
And so that's where I think it's leading to. The idea that China is going to collapse is crazy, because they are already building alliances over there to satisfy. See, I think what's going to happen. You remember back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, America used to be the place of hopes and dreams, where immigrants would come here to say, from other countries, they were like, this is a place where I could build a white picket fence dream, American dream. I think China is going to become the Americas of the 40s, 50s, and 60s. They're going to open their immigration policy. They're going to see a population decrease. So they're going to say, how do we get people to come here and work the factories and become a new consumable demographic? We're going to give them access to build a dream here. And all these people who are being shunned and isolated, they can come here and build here. And China is going to become the Americas of the 40s, 50s, and 60s.
Well, are they going to change? Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, are they going to change their political stance, though? Because, right now, people don't want to go to China because they're afraid of the government.
Yeah, they're going to change it when Ping dies. That's the whole plan.
Right.
Okay.
I'm telling you, I don't think people are considering, because nobody's really talking about it. Everybody thinks these are icons. It's like, these jokers are old. Putin should have already been dead. I mean, these archetypes, these older people are dying. And these are
yeah, but
icons.
don't you usually have an old person in the wings waiting to step in? I mean, when's the last time we had a quote young president?
Well, if you look at China's power shift, it's always been a fight. Xi Jinping was the first person to have actually a kind of peaceful transfer of power.
If you believe that narrative, sure.
Right. Let's just assume that. I mean, it's the same thing with any place. I have to go with what they're telling us.
I think they're all put in play. That's what you got to go. Well, they all have a backing where they all have been in the same jacuzzi tub. That's all I need to know.
Yeah, but the big difference is China has an economy now that they've never experienced before. It's always been this.
Because of who? Never forget where you came from.
Well, it's
bitch.
not. I don't.
Where'd you come from?
That's irrelevant to the context of the ecosystem.
It's not though, because our piggishness is what made them them.
Yeah,
if they're
that's
get
fine.
Rid of the ancient Chinese.
If we want to give homage and bow the knee and say thank you, oh Overlord Empire God, yes, we can say that. But that's not the point. The point is who's going to transfer in power. The power transfer is built within the ecosystem, and their ecosystem, they say we're great. They don't care where it came from and how it was established. And to maintain that greatness.
What do you mean the power, though? Well, power of the country or power of the leader?
The leadership, which eventually is going to dictate the rest of the policy.
I thought we just established that's fake. The leadership's fake. They go in there and think of them like a symbol of the times. Like right now, Trump is always a symbol of chaos. Biden, a symbol of roll over and die. They're symbols.
Yeah, I get that, but I mean, I would say there's a different demographic of function in different countries. I was like in China, there's of course.
I don't think it's the same though.
I don't think it's exactly the same. I do believe there's probably a underlying oligarchy that's probably running things, but I know it can't just be exclusive because they'll kill off billionaires all the time. Look at Alibaba's CEO. He got shunned because he said something, and they pawned him off into some third world place, and now he's crawling back, begging to be accepted. So they don't care. If you're billionaires, they'll kill you.
Interesting rabbit hole that he didn't even talk bad about China like they said. He talked bad about some group of bankers.
Right.
So it's not even like they framed it in a certain way. That's my point with these leaders. They're not leaders. They're just props.
Right. But what I'm trying to say is I don't know who's actually running it, and I can't say it's corporate interest. Like in America. In America, I can say a lot of it is corporate interests and the three-letter agencies and anything else. In China, it's very hard to pinpoint what that is because they don't mind killing off billionaires.
And they also don't mind creating a walled garden and facades just like we do. It's
all, absolutely.
The globe is a psyop, buddy. The whole fucking thing, it's fake. Once you get to that understanding, in my opinion, you go to, so China's version of their psyop is this, and then the version we get sold is that. But the underlying groups that control things are the underlying groups, and that's really it, in my opinion, anyway. And then you can see the trends by, like, I don't know if you and I talked about this, but I told you I think Moore's Law is like a countdown to tyranny. Like, once you get to the end of Moore's Law, you get to the beginning of infrastructure that can act very tyrannical, and all the generations have adopted it, et cetera, et cetera. And that's how you get your surveillance state, and it's always been part of that plan since it was invented. Well, China was invented in their current state. They were broke as shit. They were not able to come out of nowhere, and it was like, well, a couple of Americans went over there with a cloth and a bunch of products, and they laid them down and made an offering. Sure, all of it's bullshit. It's just like Britain went over there and ravished them. Those people aren't fighting people. They're the type, instead of punching you in the face, Chinese are the culture of poisoning your drink. They've always been like that. And so you kind of got to look at it from like the trends and things that are happening. And like I said, you'll get more information out of like a Moore's Law than you will out of a president. Presidents are fake. So those are the indicators I look at.
Well, we've talked before about the idea of who's the real power behind things that are happening in the world. You know, is it really the leaders? No, it's the people who are backing the leaders. And again, follow the money. You know, who is it? Who's got the most money and who wants to have the most influence?
I'll do you one better. Who invented the fucking money? There's your power structure. Right? It's their system.
Well, that's why I'm saying I think it's interesting when people start taking in consideration the future demographics. Yeah, we can always say there's an underlying pin of rulers, but they're not immortal. Even those people die. And at some point, when the transferring of those who hold power start to shift, it doesn't take a lot to crack the mantra. Look at Brutus and Caesar. It doesn't take a lot for an inner circle to crack and saying, hey, look at what's happening to the Republic, or look at what's happening to CCP. Because once the old icons die off, all it takes is a little crack, a little whisper, a little this or that. We have a new group of people because the underpinning rulers are not immortal. They're going to die too. And once the new shift of rising powers come in, even if they're dark governmental agencies that you don't know, Brutus and Caesar is always there. You have this person that you raised up as a son that you really think is going to be the future. But in the end, it's a coup because they've been hearing whispers. Yeah.
Well, yeah, okay. You have these individual characters that you're referring to, but like what has been timeless over all of that period of time? Because these people are smart enough to ask these exact same questions, obviously. So if you wanted something to live out longer, then you would create a system, not a character, because characters are meant to die. In fact, in your system, you would hope that they do. It would be the eras and times, but still within this infrastructure that has never existed before as far as we know. And so then what is that infrastructure that has been erected that whole entire time? Well, I would argue religious, religious groups and stuff like that. They seem to have like some pretty timeless infrastructure. So I'm sure it's probably foundational and things like that. So that's how they pass the torch.
Well, I would say to replace religion, what they've raised up is artificial intelligence.
For you and me, that's the case. But I'm saying in this system of global power elites, there might be some sort of religious doctrine they live by.
Oh, you're talking about personally, like some kind of secret societal dogma that they all hold to.
Yeah, that they all run society on, and then they all get together and go, "We're the global elites."
But you got to think about humanity. Humanity itself, it evolves, and it could be true. Maybe whatever secret society religion.
The point of having the secret society though is to mirror it against a religion because they last.
But now,
whatever you're gonna say still goes to that fact, right? Like foundationally, if you figured something out, it would be based on something like that. I believe we're better than all of you. There's the belief system. How's that?
I think the problem becomes that we've dealt with a physical ontology forever. And now that everything's getting digitalized and we're getting into a time period where people are starting to believe in a narrative that's abstract, like to me, for people to be convinced that AI is this superhuman, intelligent, superhuman thing is no different than somebody believing in some abstract of God or something. You're giving up your trust, your volition, your will to this thing that you think will have solutions, answers. And at some point, it's no different than some deity. And for go ahead.
No, I'm saying right.
Right. Correct. And so at some point, I think the leading powers are just going to shift to using that narrative. And I think this old idea of physical structures to control things is going to be arbitrary. I think people are just I think the average person is going to say, that's archaic, that's old, nobody cares. But what about this digitalized infrastructure? And I think that's what these new leaders, whoever they are, they're going to utilize that as the infrastructure. And I think even for them, the dogma is changing. It's no longer is it just this private secret society of this religious dogma. I think they are evolving in it's almost like if a Christian deconstructs, what they start doing is they start being hyperly analytical to biblical texts. And then they start asking themselves, was Jesus a real person? Was the apostles really real? Was any of this actually true? And then they start studying, and eventually that deconstruction forces them to start saying, maybe none of this is true, and then they take on a new metaphysical reality.
But who are you talking about in this scenario?
Well, I would say the leaders. Even this is human nature. Human nature.
What leaders, though? What level are you talking about? All the way up at the ones controlling foundationally, or are you talking about, Trump?
No, I'm talking about all the way up. At some point, human evolution.
They probably had this shit before. This is probably DARPA level old shit.
Well, it could be, but at some point, I would think new information causes people to deconstruct from older information. I don't necessarily that means it's true. Older information may be true, like Platonic forms. I mean, maybe that's all real. That's not I'm not talking about what truth is. I'm just talking about what people cling to as beliefs. What happens is when you get new information that questions the status quo, even if it's so solid and it's been so consistent, anything that can start doing that little whisper in Brutus's ear causes people to question even the most consistent status quo. And newer generations will say, well, it worked for them, but I'm going to do this.
But you're assuming, like, in this, from what I'm understanding here, it's almost like you're assuming that the infrastructure, the people putting the infrastructure together don't know exactly what the fuck they're doing, and they're creating your new religion because they always knew they were going to. This is one of these things where their belief system is this: I have power over Earth, and we all have power over Earth and all of you. We're above you. And this machine just makes us more efficient at our jobs. It doesn't make us question new shit. You know why? Because we've had this before you even knew it was possible. We planned Moore's Law.
I would say all that's true when you think about it in physical, like materialism, physical ontology. But if, let's say, all that, I'm not disagreeing with you, but let's say that now these ruling elites, they are given new information. Like, for a religious group, let's say there's a bunch of ancient scrolls that got discovered, and it's like, oh, this solidifies something. But let's say in those ancient scrolls, there was some new document that questioned everything. It's like, wow, we never knew about this. That would start positing these little whispers in Brutus's ear. And so the same thing I would say, as information increases, new thoughts arrive, and then what if these elites are given new information? And this new information forces them to think in a different paradigm. Yes, it's all about control. Yes, it's all about dominancy. But it's a new way of doing it and a new function and a new belief.
Give me an example. You're an elite. Go on. And you discover some new information. What profound information?
All right, I'll give you an example hypothetically. So let's say that I'm a part of the ruling elite. I know I've been pushing out all this propaganda about AI. I know I've been controlling it and all that stuff. But I also have this segregated AI system that's proprietary for the elites, and they are trying to innovate, discover, create things just proprietarily for the elites. It's not distributed to the normal public. And this integrative system starts constructing a understanding of what consciousness is and what an emergent property is. And it starts revealing things to me as a ruling elite that what I think is actually controlling everybody is not a physical or material ontology. It's an abstractive ontology. And to really control people, you have to understand more of the metaphysical emergent properties of consciousness. And I know this now. I'm going to have to do something about that, and it's going to cause me to think differently instead of focusing on material and physical functions of control. Now it's about abstractive control, and it's going to make my belief different.
I feel like they delegate that research and have it presented to them as a way to control you. Throughout history, it's like ancient Babylon, for instance. I heard this really interesting angle that they were taking on leadership there, and it kind of permeated over into Britain, it seems. And it was the king was never actually in control. The king was like an incest baby that had meaningless bullshit tasks all day, and the priest that was controlling him was actually the one in control. And the whole point, to me, it's like they're not. I've never met anybody that, granted, who cares what I think, but that where you go to, like, these people, all they care about is power. That's all I've ever experienced. It's like that's control and power. And if they knew about these current technologies now, that means they're 100 years ahead of you. So they don't need, their lifetime is basically figured out. The only time that would change is if they discovered something that would make them live longer because it would change their roles. But other than that, I'm sure they could work that out in the shower. It wouldn't be that hard in the steam room to figure out who gets what when.
I'm not so much talking about that as much as your belief. You know, belief.
But you're giving them too much credit for these deep thoughts that they don't have.
No. I'm not talking they themselves are thinking the deep thoughts. I'm saying if they are given this information, it can fundamentally change their belief. And if they're convinced that a non-materialistic ontology is actually more powerful and it can control people even more, then eventually that would shift their paradigm of belief.
Right. And if all it would do is it would take the control out of their hands is when it would be concerning to them. Right. But if you're like, oh, it could control people more because it could stick a chip in your head. It's like, yeah, they were doing that in the 60s, buddy. Like,
no, that's why. That's why I think it leads to, well, if it's immaterial, then you can't put it in a box. It's an emergent property of the universe or something like that. Let's say that's what it tells them, that consciousness is an emergent property. And it's something that can't be isolated and there's no Pandora's box that you can control it in. Then it starts realizing that maybe I'm just a puppet then of this emergent controlling property.
No, they would still convince themselves they're not.
They could, but if this is what
yes,
they were...
they definitely are. Yes, right. All the slugs down there are absolutely
I'm just telling you a hypothetical that if they were fed new information that's non-material, it could shift a belief.
You know, there used to be this other show on, it had something to do with a toilet and a clock. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they talked about a lot was the fact of how technology is going to control us. And I think adding that to what you guys are saying here makes perfect sense, especially if it's the tech bros that are kind of the ones with the money that are behind, you know, what we're talking about, the kind of the ruling elite. I mean, they know the technology that's coming out. They're the ones that are pushing it. So it's a perfect lineup. Like, you think, well, yeah, they know what's happening. They have a plan. I mean, as far as what you were saying, host, with the kind of the emergent property, like a new thought process. I mean, yes, that could be it. You know, again, they start cranking up the AI and it starts to explore things that may come up with something interesting. But I don't think it even has to be that complex. I think just the technology alone. I mean, they start coming up with cures for cancer, you know, and you know, find ways to extend your life, the life expectancy. You know, cloning, if they find a way to do that and they legalize it. I mean, you're talking about completely changing the way people live and the way they operate. Yeah, and then when you talk about the technology of, like, you know, chips in people's heads and control through mobile devices, things like that, it just seems like a perfect setup. Like it's like you don't really have to go far down a science fiction plot to kind of see how some of this stuff can really start coming into play.
And here's how these elites will think. They won't go, well, we have these emergent properties, and oh, what a profound thought. They would just go, hey, what do you think about Jupiter? You think we could take over that real estate over there? You think that's what the fuck they think? Like when you're like positing all these like deep thoughts, that's you, buddy. Even the people that you're saying the tech bros, they're the incest baby we were just discussing. They're not in control of shit. They're managing the shit.
So you think there's still someone above them?
Of course. Who loans them the money? Who loans them the shit? The entire system is still sitting on top of another thing, and it kind of makes it obvious.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be interesting if there was some abstract individual, and I'm not saying that's me, and they figure out a way to manipulate the integrative hive network and start propagating these ideas that to me, it seems if everybody is looking for the best means of control because everybody's looking for the least path of resistance, the easiest way to do something, and the systems start telling you that this is the easiest way to do it, and it's non-material. Let's just say, like, people, a lot of times people misconstrued quantum physics as a means to manipulate all these weird conscious new age constructs. But outside of all that, like utilizing actual, like, real quantum tunneling, quantum entanglement, all these real functions that they use for proprietary equipments that they're building and all this stuff, the real technology. And then they utilize this kind of information and they say it's really down to a subatomical level. And then it gets down to, you really want to control things and you really want to use the least amount of energy. Then you have to focus on something that is non-material. And once they start assuming that, or let's say even this integrative system shows them, like gives them examples, like we've talked about before. I think Tommy Goy, he's shown us the video of how America was trying to use that Malaysia flight as a means to show China that they have technology where they can just make airplanes disappear out of nowhere. Well, that's manipulating material in a way that's abstract. And if they can start seeing we can manipulate power in a way by using non-material ontology more, then they might be convinced. Well, I'm saying is it's so simple. If these people are so ignorant and so stupid, that means it's like a little child. You just show them a really cool trick and they're all going to believe. Is that what you guys are saying?
I mean, have you met people?
Yeah, I was going to say we're seeing that. We've seen it for years, and we're seeing it now. It's
monkey see, monkey do. You're telling me.
Yeah, maybe I'm self-projecting here. It's like very strange to me. It's hard for me to believe that.
Do you you think like the average person for real? Do you really believe that?
I feel like I do.
You don't.
You don't.
Okay. Well,
I don't think you guys would have this program if you did.
Okay.
It's pure and simple.
Well,
your arguments are in depth. You definitely go. If you keep predicting things coming before they happen, that tells you that you're not the average person because you're not being corralled like cattle.
Well, I would assume then that the people who are running these things, they know this too, if it's obvious to me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And so if they know this as well as I do, then clearly they're not incompetent.
Well, I mean, the Matrix analogy is great because you do have people that want to be awake and know what's happening behind the curtain, like us.
Right.
But you have people that want to take that other pill. They want to stay ignorant. They want to just enjoy their steak. And like Tom was saying, I mean, if you don't want to ask the questions, if you really don't want to know, you just want to live your life in ignorance. I mean, and there's a lot. I honestly believe that there are a lot of people out there that are just ignorance is bliss.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we played.
Oh
that
yeah,
clip
they
this
really.
week.
I know people I know like very well that are, for lack of a better term, and I know people in the audience have heard it, but it's smart-tarded. It's the greatest thing I've ever heard in my life because they really are. You'll meet somebody that's like a fucking genius in their field, but when it comes to like wiping their own ass, they need helpers.
Common sense.
Yeah, it's just not there. But then you'll see with the common folk that do seem to pay attention to it. They're like, how do you not see this right in front of your face? It's right here in front of you. And people are like, yeah. I remember there was an argument in my family. And again, this is back to that whole vaccine argument thing. And it was, if you want to travel, that was the narrative. You have to have that. And I've heard that from a lot of people, actually. And we were laughing about it because it's like, don't you? Okay, so you're gonna get a free buffet, but yes, it can kill you, but the buffet's free. Isn't that good? And people are like, yeah, it's great, free buffet. Food's expensive, or whatever. And it's just, to me, I just picture a bunch of cows just running to a bunch of hay.
Well, in this analogy of the Matrix, then who's the architect?
The person I'm talking about makes like $1.5 million a year. Like I'm talking about really like people that aren't earning that not by accident. They're intelligent.
But who's the architect in this analogy then?
Whoever understands psychology. You notice how all these shooters and stuff are like the parents of the Thomas Matthew Crooks kid were psychologists, right? It's always like that comes down to like psychology and people that are masters of that. That's the magic, really. Is
so you think those are the guys who are really running the show, are the psychologists?
They're your priests. Yeah, they're the people that are running the people that doing crazy actions for sure. Because it's all a mind game. The whole thing's a mind game. Some of it's real, some of it's not real. But
so you think I guess what I'm trying to pin down is you think the people who are actually running the world are the psychologists?
No, I think that they understand history and they understand people and they understand the psychology of people and reward systems. And
I agree with that.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think that they're like literally psychologists that are asking how you feel. I think those people are just deployed. But the bottom line is psychology. It's understanding human nature. It's understanding how it's always been and then how you're going to manipulate it. That's what it boils down to. That's what money is. That's what everything is.
Yeah, well, I get that.
I was going to say, I mean, if I was, quote, emperor of the world secretly, and I might be, but if I was emperor of the world, I would also surround myself with people who could manipulate these things. It doesn't have to be a psychologist who's behind it, but he knows how to use psychology because he's gotten people who know how to do that. It's the same thing. People who know technology, people who know economics, people who know sociology. All you have to do is be smart enough or have enough money and power to surround yourself with people who know these things, and you got it made.
But see, what you're saying right there is that these people aren't stupid.
I'm not saying no one's saying they're stupid. The point is that they only care about one thing. It's like a dude at a bar drunk late one night and wants a little he's going to only think of one thing and relentlessly, right? And that can get you into trouble. Well,
so you're saying it's more like tunnel vision.
What?
You're saying it's more like tunnel vision.
Yeah, it's tunnel vision is part of their religion is power. That's their religion.
Well, how do these dictators in these countries wind up getting such loyal followers around them that they're able to take over countries? I mean, there's a system there. I mean, they just don't do it by chance, or they just don't wake up one morning and say, I'm going to take over a country. It's built through loyalty. You somehow have to instill that loyalty, and either it's through some means, money or supply or
who would have thought
blackmail.
Who would have thought you could be playing piano with your ding-a-ling, and then all of a sudden you could be in a giant war only 3 years later? Who would think that? These leaders really do wake up one day and have an executable strategy. They're dressing their ding-a-ling up like a sock puppet, and then all of a sudden they're running the Ukraine. It's weird. That's weird. Huh. Leaders are real. You're right. I'm an idiot.
You're right. I would have never thought like that.
I know. We're not perfect. We're not poised to be leaders. That's why.
Are you suggesting we start using our private parts to do things and then eventually we'll become great leaders?
Yeah, I want an esoteric piano teacher to teach me how to play the piano.
Is that the great powerful crystal?
And then I want to be a character on a TV show where I'm the president, and then I become the president. That's how fake I want it to be.
Well, they have a show for that. I think it's called Skibbity Toilet.
You're fired.
Yeah, maybe you guys are on your arc of becoming.
No, I'm talking about the literal show Skibbity Toilet.
I know, the brain rot thing.
Yeah, they actually put presidents and other people on there. It's like maybe that's the epitome of it all.
I've never actually seen it. I've only heard you talk about it.
Yeah, they actually had Joe Biden coming through the other side, and they had Trump coming on the other side, and they make all kinds of memes.
You've only played like a couple of clips from that. It's not like we haven't seen the actual show that they came out with. I don't even know if the show's actually out. They don't know, but
no, it's real. It's actually it was supposed to be one of the most infamous shows they were going to make, but I was just saying maybe that's the epitome of it all. It's just the leadership is seen as talking heads of toilets, and the ones who are really in control are the ones who are creating the narrative.
Yeah, the people that are talking that are idiots are the ones that they pick people they think that match you. They practically tell you that. They go, your leader's a reflection of the population. That's them saying you're all a bunch of idiots. That's
I'm gonna use the bathroom real quick. I'll be right back.
All right.
Well, I mean, the other thing is, I think They don't nominate people that are actually going to do good or do something. They nominate people that they think might win a popularity contest.
And I don't think that they nominate them at all. I think that they grow them in a laboratory and they rape them into submission, and then you have yourself a leader. And if you don't think I'm right, just go look at how things work. There is an island where they all hang out. That's what they'll tell you. I promise you, it's worse than what they'll tell you. It's way worse. It's dark shit. They practice. If it's not about psychology, then what's MK Ultra? What is all that? Why have that many programs underneath one umbrella, and why be so focused on covering it up afterwards? And then all of the shit that follows that stuff. I mean, again, Ukraine and their arc. The fact that all of these leaders come out of nowhere and they're connected to major organizations, your reality that you believe in, your patriotism, all that shit is fake beyond your family and your friends and your associates. But the foundation of it all is fake. It's the Macron thing, right? How that guy was, and I don't know how true that is, but Macron being placed there by the Rothschildren, as you call them, that's just another example of it. They're placed there. It's fake. The system's the only thing that's real, and the system is what you believe in. That's exchanging. Your borders are fake. They're fake to these people. They might not be fake to you, but they're fake to them.
Well, it seems like, the people that are controlling everything right now, they don't have. They have a predictive power over people, like what we're going to buy and all that, but they want more, a higher percentage of predictability. Like we watch the weather right now because there's a predictive power. Some places, people don't watch the weather station because it'll say there's like a 50% chance of this, 50% chance of that. It's like, well, why am I even watching the weather? Like, you can't plan ahead of time with 50% of anything. You need at least, you need higher than a 50% chance of anything. It can't just be a complete, toss-up, coin flip. So, Amazon would like to know what I'm going to buy next, or they want to know what I'm going to do next. They want to know me, the ins and outs, so that way they can better sell me their products and make more money and more power. So the predictive power is it's what everybody's always wanted throughout human history, but they've never been sure how to get it. So that's why information is so valuable to these elites, because that's all it tells them is predictive power. What is colleague going to buy tomorrow? And then they can prepare and start sending me advertisements for that. Amazon versus eBay versus all these different platforms are going to sell me advertisements because they want me to shop in their place I'd
go one step deeper and go, it's not about what you want to shop it for. It's what you think about in general. What are you going to think about tomorrow?
Right.
What are we going to place you on? Yeah. Tomorrow that we're going to do a big press release and we're going to make you all argue about tomorrow's Venezuela Day. Watch out. Tomorrow is
We're going to steal a tanker.
Yeah, I'm just painting a microcosm scale of what I believe.
Right. They scale up and down is the point. They go all the way down to your shopping habits, all the way up to when you're taking a shit and how hard you're pushing and your heart rate, and when you're going to die. When are you going to need service on that old ticker or your brain or whatever? Oh, did anything change that? Well, he bought a cheeseburger. I don't know. And now we can deny you health care. It's a beautiful world.
But they have to skate though on a very fine line. There is a balancing act because they don't want me to die too quickly. They still want my money. They want to squeeze me of every last penny.
I think
first.
They want your involvement. I don't believe the whole money thing. I believe it's an involvement thing.
Yeah,
they somehow need you to keep
compliant.
Yeah, but playing the game and believing it.
Well, that's what money really means. Where a wise man once said, "Where your heart is, that's where your treasure is."
Ah, yes.
Yeah, but you can't spend your heart.
No, you can. Just depends on what country you're in.
Oh, ouch. Let me get that
to the Chinese, right?
Yeah. Are you an organ donor or not? I guess.
I don't know. That's happened in America too. We talked about where that FBI raided that morgue, and they were having all these bodies that end up like Frankenstein, where they're stitching body parts to other body parts because they were selling off body parts to research development. So I guess it happens here too. We just don't hear about it as much as China.
That's what was weird about it, is because it was just misplaced. That kind of stuff is usually in China, not in America. That's why everybody was shocked. It's like, what's that doing over here?
That's like slavery, right? When they go like, well, there's no more slavery in America. You go, yeah, we exported it.
Yeah.
There you go.
That junk out of here. It's like
it's the only export we got, right?
Yeah, it's like you find a sock in your cereal bowl, and you're like, "What? How'd that get in there?" And you don't know what that sock has been on, who's been wearing it when playing piano and stuff.
But you don't know you got a free sock and a new bowl of cereal because you would call and complain. Hell yeah, brother!
But no, it's in your own kitchen, and and then your kids swear up and down that it wasn't them. And, you ask your 16-year-old son, like, what is this? And he just doesn't know. He swears them down. It wasn't because of him and Brittany got in a fight last night and all that. And you just don't know. You just don't know. When the going gets tough, the tough get going.
Huh? You're talking about a latex sock?
It could be sheepskin.
Yeah, it felt more. It was more gritty on my tongue. I don't know what kind it was, but it was kind of hard to chew.
You're talking about like
I spit it out eventually, but like at first I thought
is that bubble chew?
No, it was because of the Captain Crunch in my mouth. It was my mouth was laced with the film.
Oh, you sure it wasn't Fruity Loops?
No, it was definitely Captain's Crunch.
You know what? I think this is why DHS took you guys down. It's because they didn't understand what you were talking about. They thought you were doing gang signs. Yeah.
Well, even DHS is code. Like that's not actually what we're talking about. We're talking about deeper things.
Yeah, we're talking about Whoville.
Yeah.
They don't like that.
Yeah.
You got to stay in their garden of gang signs, the approved gang signs.
Well, if you guys are interested in it, I'm just going to, because there's so much stuff. I wrote a 5-page paper on what Peter was talking about, and then to rebuttal all his thoughts. And if you guys are interested, I could just, maybe I can just make a video of it, or I can upload it in something and you guys can read it. But
and put in the Discord.
Yeah.
Can I get your philosophy on something? Because I never can pin you down on what your like underlying belief is. Because you have like a sway back and forth, and I feel like it's you just trying to find equilibrium and understand things. But you do seem to have a belief system that underlies that, which is how you wrote that paper of rebuttals. Because you have something that you think or believe to understand that this is actually where I think things are heading. I'd like to hear you talk about that.
No, what do you have to, you're right. I do fight for equal. I play devil's advocate everywhere. I want to give everybody their day to speak, even if I totally disagree and I think it's asinine in the most hyperbolic means. I still want to give you your piece because I like conversation. You know, that old Last Samurai movie. I like good conversation. And I do. I genuinely do. So I fight for, and sometimes sometimes I can become nonsensical because I'm fighting for something so radical that I clearly should stop fighting for it. But when I'm like a mirror, I'll match the energy. If you start coming with something more radical, my brain will just infinitively come up with more radical things.
But that's why I can't understand it, because I know you're like that. And the thing I don't get is like, okay, let's just give you an example. What do you think this is going to look like from now to 10 years from now? What's your belief system of what's going to happen? That would be interesting. I'd like to hear that.
I have to make a video on that.
That's okay, fine, because I don't know what you think. Like, if you think we're all fucked, basically, or if you think that I don't think that you fully believe that, but I think that's I don't preserve hope.
I don't believe that, but I do believe it's going to be different in a. I do believe it's going to be partition. I believe there's going to be a thought. It's going to be a paradigm shift as well as a physical shift. But I don't think the average person is going to notice the shift that much. But I think there's a real underpinning shift that is happening. But I would have to explain that and what all that means.
the shift has been happening for 50 years, and people are noticing now because it is more rapid and
yeah. But I think that's on purpose. I think they're trying to give I think they're trying to give you this idea that you're seeing the shift.
Oh, okay, interesting. See, that's what I mean. Go into detail about that.
Yeah, I have to make a video on that because there's like me. If I'm giving my opinion, there's a lot of data because I'm a data person. And so
give the cliff notes and then make a video on it later. I'm just curious, like, what do you? Okay, so it's gonna be it's a fake acceleration thing.
On what?
Well, you're saying it's basically a fake. This is all like a fake acceleration thing.
I honestly do believe things are going. I think the idea of money is the biggest problem for the infrastructure that they're eluding. Again, there's a difference between the paradigm of your reality. Mm-hmm. And what's going to be the underlying pinning of the paradigm that's going to actually control anything. And I don't believe that they're creating a tokenized infrastructure just because they want you to think it's cool. I think it's because ultimately it's going to be the best way to control everything automatically. That's why I said that next year what I'm going to focus on for at least once, I'm going to bring up one topic of programming a week. But I'm going to focus on everything that can be programmed, that is programmed, or could possibly be programmed, because the ideas of programming is not the simple layer programming that you're thinking about. It's very interconnective. And if you think about an isolated programming like a computer system, that's wrong. That's your reality. The idea of programming is, I don't want to say it like it's transcendent or metaphysical, but it's kind of like that. It's so interconnected now that they need the physical reality to still see partition. So I think, and I'll just leave it at this to make it, because like I say, you got to have the information for it. They want you to feel that right now in this physical world, everything is materially still real. So they want to give the illusions that globalization is falling apart. Reindustrialization is the means, which means I got to do something. It's back to me being physically a participant. But that's so you can interact still in the system. But the real controlling system is a higher level integrative network that is going to is forcing all these paradigms. But it's not, you won't be able to see it because you're going to be stuck and still in this materialistic function. And you're going to believe all these materialistic functions while this overlying network is actually controlling the narratives. And at this point, they don't need physical leadership and physical ontology. They will have something automated, and it will be able to run automatively. That's honestly, I think that's where it's leading to, regardless if the elites want it or not.
Well, I think it's because the elites want it. That's who's put us to this point. Again, the whole Moore's Law argument. They knew we were going to get here. They understood the physics of it. It's a way to govern without being blamed for things, and that's the most elite shit ever, is to be able to go, I don't know, Google did it. Not, right. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, you can blame a thing, not a person, and that's what they really want.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons why I've come to that conclusion, but it's the least... It's the lowest form of energy to get the max return, and it's going to be automatic. And so globalization, I believe, is still as real as it's ever going to be. You're just not going to see it or experience it.
Well, I mean, they did a great job of making sure everyone's got this screen and stuck in front of their face that they can't turn away from. Mm-hmm. So I think half the battle's done. Just keep feeding the information through that.
Black Mirror.
And again, because they're trying to bring back tribalism through nationalistic proclivities, they want you to continue believing this physical ontology. They want you to believe that everything here is, you are a participant. It's still you.
You still build it out further, though. Like, so you can create like a Cold War between East Asia and Eurasia, as George Orwell would say. And then you all go like, well, we got to have better stuff. We got to have a better oppression system and a bigger whip, because China might have a bigger whip than us.
Yeah, I honestly believe you're going to see China start migrating their economy more into a more fluid free market. It's going to happen over the next 5 to 7 years. And like I said earlier, I do believe you're going to see China open up its immigration policies. You're going to see China become like this America of the 40s, 50s, and 60s, where people are going to go there to build this hope dream. And
what makes you think that?
Because
survival.
I don't think they have a quick fix to the populational issue. But the easiest way to fix population is immigration. And if they can get enough people to come there and give incentives, they start incentivizing. Why can't they just
run the operation remote? You know what I mean? Just take it over financially, economic hitman.
Because if you look at China's record, that's just not who they are. They try to they try to buy people out. It's all about bribery. Look at the Belt and Roads Initiative. Belt and Roads Initiative really hasn't accomplished much of anything, but it's a bribery form. It tells everybody, hey, we're going to give you all this money, just be a part of the alliance. And it's always under the guise that this is going to really do some groundbreaking thing. But it's a means of bribery to compel people to continue working with China. And China's
always... Why did it work for us?
No, it's not going to work for America.
No. Why did it work for us? That's what happened. We took over how many countries by partnering with them and creating, the central bank.
But see, that's old school. See, that's all physical ontology and reality.
I'm saying, why did that work for us? Why did that work?
It's because we lived in a different world.
Well, do you think those other countries could have debt crises, and the reason why they would participate is because they wouldn't lose their culture, they would be able to remain the same, but they could get bailed out of their debt situation and basically do the old world thing with China?
Well, what I think is going to happen is the same thing that happened in America. They're going to have access to have the migrational abilities, but because things are already digital, there's going to be easy ways to create those restrictions. Again, when you're dealing with the old world function, everything had to be done with the sword and with the fist.
So what you're saying is the whole fight is going to be digital currency. Basically, at the base layer, what you're saying is like the reason why they're archaic is because you can basically have a global currency. So then why not be a global thing? That's where you're kind of losing me. Is like, well, why would China immigrate? Why would it matter where you went, really, if that's arcane?
Well, it's because of the people. People itself can't accept a globalized, purposeless world. If everybody becomes nihilistic, then again, what's the point of power? What are you controlling?
So what's the difference then?
You have to keep people in the real world feeling like I still have participation. Free will still has to be somewhat quasi-legitimate. If you take all that away, then eventually everybody's just going to be non-compliant.
Yeah, well, not just that, but people want to feel like they're getting something out of what they're doing too. Like people just don't
do that everywhere.
Work to be altruistic. I mean, they want to be compensated. So
yeah, but you could do that everywhere by creating this digital currency thing and just like knocking over the old system. Because again, who audits the Federal Reserve? Who audits China? It's bullshit. It's fake. So why would it have to become anything other than assets? As arcane as that sounds, it is reality after all.
Well, I see what Host is saying. Like back in the 30s and 40s, the United States was touted as the land of opportunity. So if you were poor in Poland or poor in Italy, you would pick your family up and come to America because it was a land of opportunity, because there's no opportunity there. So I think what Host is saying is China is just going to follow that model and say they're going to offer opportunities that are going to look better than where people are currently.
What makes you think that? That's where I'm going. We are the king of that, all of that shit. Why wouldn't we just do the same thing?
You're talking about America?
Yeah.
It's because we can't.
Why?
Well, there's globalized functioning. It's like if you want to restrict the Bretton Woods function, you don't want to be a police of the world no more. And you want to create the Monroe Doctrine in emphasis, like you stay away from South America, stay away from anywhere because this is our place. You're positing to the world, we want to create isolation. You're being an isolationist. And if you're positing that as your reality, then you're only forcing the rest of the world to create an alliance too. There's no other means. It's like if you're creating an alliance, well, then I'm going to create an alliance.
Sure. that's not the point I'm trying to make, though. I understand what you're saying there, but that's also to posit that we can't build out. Like right now, we don't have any hope because we don't have anything. There's nothing. You don't have any industrial base.
Right. That's what I was trying to say earlier. That's what I'm saying. That's why they need to create this physical participation still. If you do
that's all China is now. That's all China is now.
Well, first we're dealing with America. If America,
you're saying people from America are going to go to China. So
no.
No, I don't think he was saying that.
I'm talking about Europe, because America's now saying I'm going to stop focusing on Europe as much. I'm going to stop focusing.
Okay, I was misreading that because when you're saying, I thought you meant like, oh, it's going to be an opportunity for America.
No. They're going to make it more difficult. They're already making it more difficult now. I just talked about it in this week's episode. They're now passing a law that even for the 32 countries that can come to America without visas, they're going to force you now to give 5 years of social media data to the Border Patrol, or you're not even going to get access. So they're already going to isolate more, and they're going to focus on, if you're American, you need to be about America. And at some point, it's going to be like, this is the Western Hemisphere. It's going to be Canada, America, Mexico, and South America. And this is going to force Europe to be collapsed into either Russia or China or some union over there. It's not going to be the European Union. It's going to be this new Western alliance and Eastern alliance. But I'm saying all of this is so people can feel like they still have physical participation. Reindustrialization is just a means to make people feel I still can do something because I'm an America, or I'm a part of the Western or the Eastern Alliance. I'm participating. No, it's
because there's a demand, though. There's a demand for it. That's the point. If we're getting rid of a supplying country or a bunch of them, then
but
there's
the demand
to replace them.
Demand is propagated by the idea of what they want as controlling products. If tomorrow they said, I'm sorry, we actually miscounted. There are no more rare earth minerals. We can't build semiconductors no more. What are you going to do? The rest of the world, average person, they don't know what to do. They're like, I guess we're going to not have semiconductors no more. The idea of what you're being pushed as consumable products is based upon how they want to align your means of future participation in the system. They could give you whatever they want.
Is that change bad or good?
Well, I'm not positing a moral construct. I'm just saying this is how
it's not a moral construct. If I'm getting beaten with a bat because I'm not working hard enough, or I'm sitting in front of a computer and I'm side watching honeys show their hoo-hoos and their ha-has, which one's better? That's not moral. That's just an excerpt talking about energy exertion and survivability.
Yeah, I don't think that it's bad per se, but what I don't.
Do you think it's better than now, though? Is my point.
Yeah, sure. It will be in the sake of energy consumption, but I'm talking more about the agenda of the people who are controlling things. Their means is, how can I control the most amount of people with the least amount of energy resource? And the idea is I need people to participate. And if everything becomes super digitalized in their world, then they're going to turn into nihilists. They're going to say, I don't care, let it all burn to the ground. So reindustrialization is a means to get your participation back. So they need to create a physical ontology that you feel real and you feel nationalistic, tribalistic, and identify with. So you will have a legitimate in your heart that there's a means to participate and you claim some identity. But on the abstract form, it's all still going to be controlled by a global internetworked function.
And the only way that's going to make sense is if they also let you have a home and whatnot without it being ridiculous. That's what I'm positing. It doesn't sound like it's the worst thing ever if you're actually.
No, I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying if you're
I want you to. I want you to say if it's good or bad, because I'm curious what your actual thought is on that. You're not sure.
It just depends on because see, that's a hard predictability of what. It depends on society. If society wants to find greater purpose as a humanity, then it can be good. If society is just if society continues going on a consumer mentality of get all I can all I get, and sit on the can, then I think it's going to be bad. I really just think it depends on all of
but
these
in an industrialized world, you have to have community. You have to have these things to make you work and collaborate with each other more. It seems like the things that we're losing, it's a potentially gives us those things back. I mean, you talk about like your grandparents and whatnot. They did seem like happier people to me. There were like little scuffles and bullshit things about, nonsense, but the reality was it wasn't a bad life
Yeah,
at
and
all.
if all of this helps, if all of this helps humanity see interwoven relationships as a greater means, I think it will be good. But I don't know if that's going to. I don't know if already there's been too much habituation that if we're past. If Pandora's box really is real and there's no way to get it back in, can you really force everybody to feel identity and community as more valuable than individuality and
They're
consumerism?
starving for it. Go around the internet. They're starving for it. You wouldn't be starving for something you didn't need and were seeking.
Yeah,
It's
but
just
then
that
why don't
there's no
people go do it?
means.
Why don't people go work those jobs, those trade jobs, and be a
Well,
part of the
because
industrialization?
it doesn't make sense economically yet. But if you destroy the old system that can't be audited and is fake anyway, then you could come back with a system that does make sense.
That's
Because it's just numbers on
that's the
pages.
quandary, is that the rising generation, Generation Alpha, because Generation Z, they're already pretty much established in this infrastructure, but Generation Alpha, they're so indoctrinated within a digital infrastructure that I don't know how they're going to say, now let me get my hands back into this industrial function.
Because it'll be cultural. It'll just be like blue jeans and cool shit. It'll be
But
cool
you know
to do
that
it,
what happens in your childhood is really hard to break fundamentally.
tell that to the Wigger kids listening to Eminem. Sure it is, dude. Sure it is. Yo, 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 yo. Yeah, he really lived that struggle, that white kid from some podunk nothing town in northern PA or whatever.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
really make it tough, maybe.
Well,
I still think it boils down to money, because these trades are going to be so lucrative. I mean, at the end of the day, hey, listen, it all comes down to money, because with money you can get things, and people want things. We're consumers in our nature.
But my point is, like, money's a means of socially controlling a thing, and if you can't audit or change it, and it can be the two books can be had at the same time. It's like Catherine Austin Fitts says, FASB 33 is the reason why they can hide black projects and all this other shit. So basically, if it can't be audited, then money is just a weight that you can use to guide people. But
well, yeah. What I'm saying is, even if UBI becomes a thing, so you have all these Gen Alphas,
put you in.
They all have their UBI, so they have their food, they have all this, but they're going to want more stuff. And if the jobs that they're taking aren't really generating that, and there's jobs out there that'll give you a crap ton of money, which are the trade jobs.
Picture this, Ted. I'm agreeing with you, but picture this.
Yeah.
You have two adjacent systems. Think Bitcoin now. But don't think Bitcoin, because it's not what I'm talking about. I'm just saying it's an example.
Okay.
But an adjacent parallel system to the current one, but the parallel system's posited by the new Federation of America, or whatever the fuck we're calling ourselves these days. The Americas. They used to call it the Amero back in conspiracy times.
Yeah, back in 2001.
That's right. And so you take this Amero, and now you go, well, the Amero actually is trending above your dollar. You better move all your shit into that. And now there's your new opportunity, and the old one falls apart. You just like Jack Sparrow coming in on the ship, and it's sinking, and it lands right at the dock. That's what the plan is.
And we got Oregon Bro chiming in here too.
Oh, yo.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Oh, it's going.
That's right.
Here, I'm just listening. Oh, I wanted to let who's talking? I'm sorry, I don't know.
That's Tommy Goy.
Oh, Tommy Goy. Yeah, I was gonna let Tommy Goy finish his point.
That's pretty much my whole point. Just they're gonna make two systems, one parallel, make the other one arcane. It falls over and dies, and the other one's like, yeah, the kids adopted the cool new thing. Yeah, and it'll be Eminem. It'll be cool as shit, man. Yeah.
Well,
but it still boils down to money, though. So it doesn't matter what you're calling it.
That's why I said I agree with you. Yeah. It's just that it's going to be a new belief system. It's not new money. It is new money, but it's like a new belief in like a new thing. This is our generation. This is hope and change and Obama, baby. Come on.
That sounds like a rap song.
That's right.
Oh, there goes gravity.
Oh, he's a black. We got a black president now. Everything's look. We got change.
That kind of did change everything, didn't it?
Well, you still got bureaucracy. You still got the FBI. You still got the CIA.
I'm talking about the people believing in everything at the time, though. The people were like, "Oh my God, Obama!"
Right? Yeah. Yes, that's true. A lot of people were. And but we
got the same thing now with Trump, though. Come on, we got a lot of.
That's true. No, it's the same worship, but it's even worse now with Trump because we have social media on a level where it has never been. And the fact that he publicly traded, which really gained his popularity during his campaign, he publicly traded his True Social network or his social media network, which at the time, because they were propping him up to be so popular, a lot of people gained oh, look, we have independent media, we have independent social media now, it's a place for us to go. And that's what a lot of people considered. But little did they know that, it's just going to be just a blowhorn for Trump. And he completely gets ratioed. I mean, I don't know if Trump is aware of that, but he obviously now he's just getting his website or his True Social website now being used to ratio him. But that's just the people, and I think that might be an error in the elites where they consider freedom of speech, but maybe they don't understand the extent of how it'll backfire onto them sometimes. And so things like that happen. I think that's what's happening to Trump now. But it's the same thing. People are just. I'm 26.
Okay, so are you considered Gen Z?
Yeah, I guess a lot of people would say I'm millennial, but I was born '99, so a lot of people argue. So because I was born closer to 2000, though, because I was born in November, I'm considered Gen Z, but whatever.
So theoretically, your beliefs here are going to be slightly different than anyone else's. So, do you believe in nothing like the other ones?
What do you mean exactly?
Well, I mean like the current system and everything that your parents and their parents believed in. Are you guys kind of like not on that?
I mean,
it's pretty gay, right?
I mean, I used to. Well, when I look at the history of the Constitution and the people that came together to make the country.
Sure. Yeah, I agree with that.
Not all of them.
I'm saying like if in the current system in the paradigm. I just mean like not what I know that you're saying you believe in the fundamentals of America, but you're basically saying, oh, okay.
You're not letting me make my point. A lot of them weren't. We're told today that Christians wrote the Constitution. It wasn't just Christians. It was atheists. It was agnostics. It was Freemasons. All came together and made America. And it was a detachment from, I don't know what exact elites that were there at that time were like the East Indian Trading Company and things like that. But George Washington was a Freemason himself. So this whole America is what America is. Our country, I'm not saying I don't believe in our country. I believe in America. I believe in the ability to have sovereign rights and freedom, but I also understand that at the same time we did steal some of that from people, right? I mean, that did happen, and we did engage in dehumanizing, demoralizing things in other people that weren't like the Anglo-Saxons. Very true. That did happen, but I do believe in an America where where we're at today, where hey, we have an ability to look at big tech in the face, look at all these giants in the face that we've never been able to do. Say we believe we have a sovereign country. We believe even if it's not sovereign, we can make it so. And we want to try, to our last breath as much as we can. So, I mean, I believe there's still something here, but what it is now is unrecognizable, is demoralized and from what it used to be.
But that's basically what I was saying. It never really
has been, I guess, in our modern day, has been America, because there's always been some sort of law or some sort of bureaucracy overstepping everything to push an Overton window. I don't know exactly when that started.
Maybe people are right. Maybe I do think too much into all of this.
What do you mean? I think a lot of this do. I don't know. I mean,
what I'm saying is I still see that all of this is underpinning upon primitive philosophies. It's not so much like this is like the Third Reich of Rome, or this is a continuation of archetypes. This is just fundamental tribalistic philosophies trying to find new systems to integrate those philosophies.
What he just said was what I was trying to clarify. I just didn't say it right, but he said it. But when I said Constitution, what I meant to say was you believe in the concepts of America, and by that I mean freedom. You believe in freedom. We all believe in freedom. That's something we can all agree on. It's just
it depends on who you think should have that freedom. Like if you look at Plato, he believed that the people who determine what freedom should be has to do with those who have intellectual stability. Like he would say, if you're a blacksmith, then you need to focus on talking about blacksmith stuff. If you start talking about the geopolitical functions, that's unjust, and you should be punished for that because you're actually doing a disservice to your fellow man. The aristocrats are the ones who should be controlling the government. So for Plato, for him, he believed freedom was controlled by the people who would be able to be the most intelligent. But the intelligence was subjective based upon the leading groups, the aristocrats.
Right.
I don't think most people would want that today. I mean, maybe it's good, maybe it's not, but do you want that?
The aristocrats go, I believe I should be in power, is what you're saying.
Right.
The aristocrats go, I believe I should have power.
Right.
I don't see it.
Right, and that's the problem. It's like...
Well, the aristocrats were the ones with the wealth, right? So, once again, people have the wealth. They have the power.
The people that go to Jekyll Island, they had the power.
Well, yeah, that's the problem. What I'm trying to say is, everybody wants freedom, but freedom is only good in the illusion of you having the control to do something with that freedom. It's like free will. Everybody wants free will as long as you can control your action. But once somebody says, you have free will, but it's limited based upon what I'm going to put you in a box for, then everybody's like, well, that's not real free will. But nobody's actually believing that you can fly off of a building. Nobody believes in totality of free will. So everybody still believes there's a box, but they don't like it when somebody or the aristocrats are telling you how to use your free will. Then they'll say, well, that doesn't feel like free will. So it depends on what people mean by freedom and what they're really wanting, because ultimately it comes down to who's controlling your freedom. And is that real freedom?
Yeah. No. Well, it depends. It depends on if it's symbiotic or not. Like if you're one thing and you can live off another thing, then of course you'd be like, it works. It's like, I could live like this. It just becomes oppressive sometimes, and that's when it becomes an issue.
Children always feel like they're being oppressed by their parents, whether they have good parents or bad parents. And the parents, they give them all the free will. Well, let's pretend there's a good parent who's parenting their children rightly, whatever that means.
Let's say this parent was colleague.
And that, hold on now. Hold on. I'm not making any claims, okay? Look, I know a lot of people out there say that I'm the best parent in America. I don't know if I could believe that.
You are with all the yachts.
Well, I'm not making that claim. I'm just saying that's what people are saying.
I mean, your child did say, "I'm glad we're not poor."
I just picture you getting into an argument here with your wife in your head, and you're like, hey, you go like, some say I would be the best parent. Some would disagree with me. Some would disagree with me, but they'd be wrong.
I try to tell my wife that some people out there say that I'm the best husband, but she doesn't believe me.
Do you have a mug? Where's your mug?
Well, what I'm saying though, okay, let's not get too off track here.
Sorry about that.
What I'm saying, see, you guys are too goofy. What I'm saying is, the parent-child relationship, and not in an AI way, but in a household, when the kids have all the freedom to do and live as they want in a good household, it's highly subjective, but the parent has to set boundaries because the kid is just ignorant. So, what do you say to somebody to the government who may say the same thing? Look, we know what's actually going on. We know how many aliens exist on Earth right now. We know when AI is going to take over. We know when China is going to take over. We know when Russia is going to take over. We know when all these things are going to take over, but you don't. And we can't tell you right now because you would literally, the whole world would die. We would all kill each other. Every city would eat itself from within if they actually told us what's going on.
That's an interesting point. That's a really interesting way of looking at it, because you could go, well, you can't unsee what you've already saw. That's a pretty, yeah.
Like if the government actually told us that tomorrow aliens are going to invade, well, let me rephrase that. If they told us in 10 years aliens are going to invade and wipe us all out, huh?
No. I said invade what?
Yeah, they would wipe. They're going to come and kill us. They're on their way. We know this. NASA's confirmed it or whatever. They've been able to. They can prove it. And they told us that. All of us are going to panic. Everybody's going to start mugging and killing everybody. And then we're not going to be able to have a chance in 10 years. Instead, we can try to work together to build an AI model that could defend humans against aliens in 10 years. But if they just came out and told us this, then we would never get to that point.
Now tell me, Oregon bro, would that shit work on you? I'm not buying it.
No, I don't. Here's the thing. I had bad parents growing up. So the problem, I have an issue with authority because I see its flaws. And what I mean by that, it's their predecessors before them, whoever was playing the projector before them, had probably maybe better discipline in some ways. And then whoever these kids are absolute degenerates and are way worse. Maybe that was the plan. I don't know. I'm kind of just conspiratizing at this point. I'm actually kind of kidding too, but no, realistically, that wouldn't work on me because it just, the flaws in government I already see now. It's just really hard for me to believe. Look how the FBI investigates things and how even COVID was dealt with. You would have governors go, oh, you need to stay, you can't visit anybody for Thanksgiving, or they'd be, you need to go take all these precautions and all this, whatever, yada yada. And then they would fly. It was, oh, we won't recommend flying, it's not the safe thing to do unless you're vaccinated. Even then they were even like, oh, you probably still shouldn't do it, because even if you're vaccinated you still have to wear a mask at times. And then they get on a plane and then they fly to wherever, and there's no consequence upon them at all. AOC spent a lot of her time in Florida, where it wasn't locked down, and her state was. I mean, that's just, there's some examples that I'm just going to display there. Where
well, let me throw it back at you, Oregon bro.
Rules for me and not for thee.
So if I'm going to advocate for the government for a second, again, it's like I'm telling my 10-year-old daughter she's not allowed to drive because she has no clue. It's not just because it's illegal. It's actually she just doesn't have the mental capacity to drive and not kill herself and somebody else. But I can drive, so I'm not being a hypocrite. I have the mental capacity, I think.
Do you have your ninth booster? Do you have your ninth booster yet?
No, I don't have any boosters.
Well, my point is, it doesn't matter because we're not children.
Well, what I'm saying is we live in ignorance. We don't know what's actually going on behind the scenes. How can we live in ignorance
when we are told one thing and then we see people do completely the opposite?
Don't you think that could be a psyop, though? Even how ridiculous that was?
That's what I'm saying. My daughter looks at me and she says, Daddy, why can you drive but I can't? And she's actually asked me that. And I told her because, well, first of all, again, it's illegal. Secondly, you don't know what's out there. You don't know how to drive a car. You haven't been trained. The same thing, like a police officer can shoot and kill somebody. But why can't I do that? Well, they've been trained to do this stuff. Now, whether they do it well or poorly, that's between them and their gun. But I'm not trained to do that. So I'm ignorant when it comes to how to handle a weapon like a police officer. Everybody's ignorant at some point. So we're ignorant of the reality of what's going on. The government could fly a plane and do these things and avoid these mines because they know where the mines are in this field. We don't.
Well, let me ask you, Oregon bro.
So that's like staying locked down in your state, having to go when I walk in the restaurant, I have to wear a mask and then take it off when I can sit down.
I got an answer for this.
When I go potty, it's all these things that we had to do in our state. but our governor went and off to whatever.
Don't you
probably didn't have that?
Don't you think that could be the psyop though? So here's what I'm going to posit to you, because we're probably going to agree here. We were just talking about populations of boomers and how they're going to get old, and there's more of them than there are of us. Hi, boomer, you're out of here. See ya. We're going to eat you.
Yeah, sorry, Ted
you
Bundy.
and the rich. You and the rich are going to go in my lunch bowl while I go to my new job at the factory. Fuck
Glad I
you.
could be of service.
So anyway, not to get off track there, but yeah. So let's say you have that large cohort of people that's bigger than the cohort of people working, right? And you wanted a way to wipe them out because you're not going to be able to sustain them by having this smaller cohort and their resources pay for that larger cohort that has all the resources now anyway. Well, then wouldn't you create a psyop that worked for them? Let's say a vaccine where it made you follow authority, even in the most goofball, ridiculous ways that would then end up killing them. And you might think it's ridiculous, but you're part of the new world and the new generation, and you're going to be proud of the new thing coming up. And you're going to say, fuck those idiots. And that's the psyop, right? Like, don't you see that that's possible?
Well, that's the other thing is the government was during the lockdown. They were actually calculating when they were going over the budget. The Biden administration was actually recognizing that, by 2030, we're not going to have enough money to pay the next people coming in for Social Security.
Right.
So we need to figure this out, and that was always kind of a thing in general. They understood the growth of population and how that would affect the standards of care.
Right.
And they knew that they could also combat that and make that possible for everybody and make it a better world. But instead, they brought standards of care down, and that's why they brought in the PrEPs Act, the 1986 Childhood Vaccine efficacy of immunity. I mean, all these things they brought in. So then years later, when things would be in place for certain things, they could do it. And just like how now they're like, oh, hold on, buddy. I know, hold on. Okay, well, you know what, guys? I'm going to go. I guess my son, he wants to hang out. I would love to keep talking, but I got to go.
Well, it's good talking with you, Oregon, bro.
You're a good father, Oregon, bro.
Thank you. I try. Thank you. I appreciate you guys always. You guys are great. Never stop.
Yeah, I was going to ask you a question, but maybe we'll pick up next time.
What's up, buddy? Okay, you can ask me. He's like, can I answer this question? Okay, yeah. What's your question?
So, positing the illusion that, let's say that you knew that, just hypothetical, what if Social Security's restrictional idea of financing was all a part of a scheme to force people to do reindustrialization to create identity? So let's say that the numbers are cooked. Let's say the population numbers are cooked. And there's actually no population problem. There's no deficit in Social Security, and it's all been cooked. But the reason why they're telling you this is so that you will feel a demand that we need to have more babies. Because if we don't have more babies, we're not going to have more people feeding into the system. So we need more people. But that's all cooked. And it's not real. But they want you to believe that. And then they create this idea of reindustrialization so you'll feel identity. Saying, well, if I'm going to participate, what am I going to participate in? Well, don't worry. We're going to create manufacturing jobs. We're going to create America again. We're going to create all this stuff great again. And you're going to be able to have something in America. So don't worry. You focus on making babies and you focus on doing this so we don't collapse the Social Security system. And we're going to make sure that you have a great identity in America. And because, look, the whole economy is going to trash. And you know what? China's a problem. Everybody's a problem. We're just going to be isolationist, focus on America, and we're going to make sure we fix this problem. You just keep making babies.
USA.
Right.
Can we outfuck our way out of this problem? I think so. I'm gonna go for my speech.
And that's what Trump is coming and he's doing. Everyone right now, like your life depends on it. We need to have babies. Yada yada babies.
Well, that's my question is though trying to connect to what a colleague was saying. The illusions that are put out by the government are only known in truth by the government. And a lot of times these things that are being said, it's because they know something we may not know, good or bad, regardless of the connotation. And to prevent something for whatever their means is, again, I can't say what those are without going into some elaborate escapade. But whatever they are, they say, we see something. we need to force people to do X, but we can't tell them why, because if we tell them why, they'll know Z is about to happen. And that's going to create real panic. So what we need to do is propagate X, and then once they believe X, we can give them X parentheses X2, which is we'll create the industrialization or something to focus on X. And then they'll never worry about Y because we can fix Y as long as they believe in parenthesis X2. And that's what I'm saying is the ignorance part a lot of times is because we just don't know what they know.
What if we give them the N-word back on X?
Well, there was... So
it's defeating the purpose.
There is points where we're almost seemingly we're allowed to kind of peer over the veil, if you will, in some ways. Like, for example, when COVID was happening and they were rolling out the mRNA, first of all, I mean, who knows how long we've actually been messing with that stuff, how long that's actually been in the system. We don't know. But as far as we know, this is the first time it's ever been rolled out and it's ever been used on anybody, to be honest. And that's as far as we know, because of the 1986, that protects them from being sued. Doesn't matter what they put in and what they're doing. And they have been merging AI with drugs. They want to merge tech with drugs, because that is the ultimate control you on the cellular level. I feel like is the ultimate way to control you. But my point is when they were first coming out with it, I said, first of all, this is strange because this is weird they're saying this virus isn't that dangerous for this group of people, most of that for most anybody, but they want you to take all this, whatever. And then as they're rolling out more, they're saying it's not that big of a deal anymore, but here we're going to give you more of it. And before that happened, I was like, I told my grandma, I told my mom, I told a lot, they're going to make you take more. This is going to be not the end. And I mean, and I don't know how long the lockdowns are, the masks, but these shots, this thing is going to stick around for sure. And they're going to make you take more. I don't know how long they're going to make you do it, and I didn't sure if it was going to how long it was. We all didn't know how long it was going to last, but I knew it was eventually there's going to be some sort of endpoint.
How do you know the difference between?
That's my point. Is at least there is some real world evidence where we can at least display just some common sense where we can and kind of peer over the veil and predict maybe a few months ahead or a few events ahead where we can see the obvious of human patterns, but that's all we're allowed to see. And that's it. And the rest we have to rely on.
But how do you know the difference between seeing beyond the veil and what is being alluded to you? Like, how is there any real way to delineate false narratives comparative to I'm really seeing behind the veil?
Like for the face masks, for example, when those were all first being rolled out, after a while I was like, we're going to be blamed for pollution in the future for this, and this is going to add on to the climate change narrative, and that's what exactly happened.
How do you know that's real?
It's not. What do you mean? That's it. What do you mean?
Well, what's real?
Like, how do you know this? Because everything we talk about is propagated through information.
No, I'm not saying climate change. I'm not saying I believe in climate change or any of that stuff. What I'm saying is we would eventually be blamed for the mask, for the pollution, because of where we didn't put it in biohazard containers. If this is a pandemic and this is such a horrible thing, then why aren't we putting these in biohazard containers? These are just simple things these are my common sense. I spoke to myself. I'm not saying that's what we all should all look towards or have these thoughts, but I'm just saying that's what kind of made sense to me at that time, is we'd be blamed for pollution later, even though it's probably not that big of a deal, and the coral reefs are coming back and all the forests are coming back, whatever. And then of course, yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, we just be blamed for something later, even though we were told to do it now.
Well, before the narrative,
you're in, Mr. Cloud. Mr. Cloud's here also.
The narrative was you all need to die, and then it came back as you need to fuck and make more life.
Yeah, why do they care about us so much?
You're cows. Yeah, because you're cows. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. Before I even got deep into, was always skeptical of government and school, because that's just how I grew up. My parents were always my mom was always like, watch the system. You never know what they could do. And it's very true. And my mom just did that because she had a rough time in the court system, and they threw her around a bunch, and she understands how it can be. but she doesn't understand the over. She actually started asking me questions earlier this year of what's going on in the world. She was like, what the hell? What the F? You told me not to take the shot, and then all the stuff's getting weird. I'm like, well, I don't know, Mom. I really don't know what's going on. I'm just going on based of what my common sense is and what other doctors that I hope Robert Malone and Peter McCullough and these doctors are legitimate in what they're saying and are being serious and actually do care. And we're like, and I do want to see a change. I made this mistake, like Peter McCullough was saying, like I didn't realize that this technology would be used as a negative thing, as a means of a start of control on us in the cellular level and things like that. So,
and no one's going to come in and tell us. That's what he looks like right now.
Hey, what's up, Noah Cloud?
Just so you guys, just to set the record straight, so you know, because education's everything. They have been using the mRNA viruses since 2013, the vaccines. So it wasn't something new. It has been around.
On food.
So, yeah, that's
on us, kind of on humans. They for rabies.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And cancer treatments, and for cancer.
Yeah. Well, I tried to talk about it before. Like they've been creating. You guys can look up AAVs. The easiest way to understand is that everything that they distribute has to be programmed. And so what they do is it's called an adreno-associated virus. It's the most simplest virus that has the lowest proclivity of trying to turn into something contagious. And then what they do is they manipulate the DNA of the AAVs, and that's how they program it. And then they inject that using messenger RNAs, mRNAs, and then your cells absorb that. And then when they accept the messenger, the thing that's transferring data, your cells then download that, and it converts the DNA of the cell. So everything is being programmed through what's called AAVs, adreno-associated viruses. And they've been using that literally for decades.
They're filing legislation called under a program called Warp Speed, which eliminates any wrongdoing for any of the manufacturers. It is actually an amazing technology. You're right. I am impressed with it after all.
Yeah.
But it's misusing any technology.
Anything used for good can be used for bad or control. It depends on the power structure and how they feel upon the public. I mean,
all you need to do is see the warp speed thing. That's it. That's what.
Mr. Noah Cloud, how about you? What's your interjection here? You're over there quiet, sitting in the Platonic corner over there.
Well, they're right. So, like all this mRNA vaccines and stuff like that, they took all this. This is all stuff that they found in nature already. We have retroviruses, which are the ability to retroactively rewrite your genome and everything like that. And so these things have already existed for millions of years. Like most of our junk DNA is the result of retroviruses rewriting our genetic structure for their own benefit. And so this goes back for hundreds of millions of years in nature. But now that they've found a way to manipulate it themselves, they're trying to jump speed it for their own purposes. And it's really just like the simplest way to do it, because once you've finished growing and you're like a fully developed human being, they can rewrite your entire genetic code to do something else, and you can more or less keep functioning as like a living person. But parts of your body will just start to do different things that may or may not interfere with like the other parts of your normal day-to-day function. And so they can start to build up like little neural nodes within our bodies that can be like for implants in the future. And so we're talking like generations down the line. Like this stuff isn't going to be happening overnight. This is stuff that they're planning for our great-great-grandchildren. It's like the reason that they want us to start having kids all of a sudden is because they want our kids dependent on the system. They don't want our kids independent of the system. They want them dependent on it, and they want our kids to think that the system is cool and the saviors. So they want our kids to think that getting the chip is cool and it's okay, and Bitcoin is cool and it's okay. This is like what you guys were talking about earlier.
Well, how can't you function without a phone? I mean, this new world.
You can't, but
we got Nick Fuentes over here.
That society has gotten to that point where everything is so disconnected from the actual world that we start to fall apart without it. And it's just, a lot of it is just like withdrawals. Like, have you ever seen like a heroin addict go through withdrawals and they claim that they're going to die and they're laying on the couch and they're screaming and crying? And then after like 3 weeks, they're kind of like, maybe I'm okay. And then after like 6 months, they're like kind of more or less a normal functioning human being. It's like a lot of this is just like, it's just addiction and dependence. And so you just have to reroute those neural networks these people develop for their addiction, things like that. Because once you get people outside and like outside of civilization and stuff like that, and you kind of get them in just like a little bit of a structure, they start to do a lot better than they would do if they're in the city and like in society and things like that. And
well, under what you just described, why can't you also do that like more effectively? So instead of having a net where you're stuck to your phone and you're like not able to function in the real world, what if your, the Internet of Bodies thing actually does make it more communal and interactive? You're still playing within the system, but then maybe that connects. I don't know. I'm just hearing from what you're saying. That kind of makes sense to me. Just a thought.
Yeah. So the problem with like the Internet of Bodies is that eventually they're going to start tapping into our brains to use it as like additional processing power for the AI networks.
Why do they need to though?
Once, and they're going to start like replacing little bits and pieces of your brain to do that. And so eventually you're not going to even have the option to not be plugged in. But what you really need is the option to be able to plug in and to unplug when you need it and when you don't need it.
Why do they need to do that? Why do they need to plug into you instead of doing the organoid intelligence thing? Is it experience maybe? Or because like why couldn't you clone somebody, stick them in, I don't know, the Matrix, and then utilize that?
Well, that's one of the things that they've one of the issues is like genetic flow, is that you can artificially create some genetic flow like with like crop propagation and like with fish hatcheries and stuff like that. You can create like artificial gene flow, but it's not the same as like the organic distribution of genetics. Your genetics have to go through like trials and tribulations to see which ones are actually going to survive. Because if you just allow all of them to propagate, or you try to cherry pick whichever ones you think are going to be the best, you don't know what the future is going to hold and what stressors are going to be. And so if you just start kind of like eliminating branches without giving them time to grow out and see what's actually going to happen in the future, then you may be cutting off, like you may be cutting out something that we all have deficient jaw muscles. And all of our deficient jaw muscles led to our skulls not fusing together so tightly as children. And because of that, our brains are able to expand and grow. And so because of that genetic deficiency, it led to our brains being able to grow in a different way.
But if they just want to tapping into power, they can create, right now the issue with organoids is that the longevity is maybe maximized at about 100 days. And eventually they're going to perfect that. And they already have there's a company in Australia that's already allowing people to pay to utilize neuromorphic computers right now for AI data systems. But once they get this where they can prolong these organoids to a long enough period, then I think they could just allow a sub-break of them. Let's say they create an organoid sub-tank where there's like 100 of them in there. And they'll let the conflicts ride out. And then they'll be able to figure out they'll be able to delineate between these are these organoids that are dysfunctional. These have the problem. So now we'll just replicate these. And, it's just like any other genetical propagation. They'll be able to deal with that as long as they can start creating a longer time period for the organoids to live out. And at that point, they really don't need humans because the real thing that they're trying to do is compute power. And what they really just need is these brains. And so if they can create these brains to live longer, they can achieve that goal of genetical propagation and segregation. The issue is that we just can't get these organoids to live long enough yet.
Just don't give them names, because once you name them...
Yeah, that's exactly. Have you guys read the book John Dies at the End?
Mm-mm.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah, see, organoids.
Quite familiar, yeah.
It's Koruk.
No, I haven't.
So, are you going to tell us what it's about?
So John Dies
it's a secret. You can't.
Well, we know John
tell
dies
you
at the
ending.
end,
That's the
so
important part. But
huh?
it's about interdimensional. It's about a lot of interdimensional stuff and a lot of experimental science. But they do go into like the organoid supercomputers and things like that. And so in an alternate timeline, rather than humanity developing a lot like digital computer circuitry and stuff like that, somebody figured out how to do like organic computers instead. And so there's a parallel universe where everything developed with biocomputers and all kinds of genetic engineering and things like that, and it led to a super intelligence organoid computer that was then conquering the multiverses.
Yeah, what's interesting about organoids, it's like I've talked about before, is the human brain only consumes 30 watts of electricity. And a room, you would need a 10,000 square foot room consuming megawatts of electricity to even come close to one human brain. If we only need 30 watts of power to power this massive computing infrastructure in our head.
But I thought the robots are better than us. What about that?
That's why they.
All that talk.
What happens if they put it in the robots?
Yeah, they are better than us. We're not saying that they're not.
Yeah, just throw it in.
You grow a brain, you grow organs, and then you put it on a robot. And that's basically, right. Yeah. Well, and that's the whole point of genetic human. I mean, Tom Brady just cloned his dog. We can clone people. It's not. Look at Erica Kirk is a really good example of a robot. Another lady named something Kirk.
I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the Florida.
That was back in the 70s or the 60s.
Yeah, that's a really interesting plot.
Spitting image.
Rabbit hole. Yeah, a clone.
She was German Romanian woman, or I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Erica Kirk has a history of she was hanging out at this Romanian school, Romanian school in Romania, and there was some weird stuff going on there with kids, and who knows what that was all about.
The whole world is that. That's what I've been saying.
Anything that has to do with military,
burn it all.
With kids, yeah. I feel like they're doing some sort of genetic something human.
It's a big breeding program.
Was hanging out with all these scientists, all these geneticists, and it's like, oh, Jeffrey Epstein was trafficking kids. Yeah, why do you think one of the reasons why he was trafficking so many children? The point was to get their genetics. It's the adrenochrome that plays a huge part of it. Believe it or not. It's a whole bunch of things, dude. And yeah, that's what these Freemasons, these Luciferians, they create Lucian. I don't know. These guys, they believe in like a god called Lush, and apparently if they create enough chaos, they can create enough destabilization in the world. They can always have an opportunity to keep everyone in control, and they keep feeding their god negative energy. I guess that's another.
See what I'm saying, fellas? That's what I'm trying to say. It's the religion of power.
Yeah, well, I'll say one as a side note, just to kind of on that. Every time I drive by Freemason buildings, they're really tall, but they have no windows up on those upper floors, which I don't know how they get away with that, because I think usually the city codes say you have to have windows. There has to be a specific dimension too on every floor, just in case of a fire. If you need to get out or, for safety hazards, there has to be breathability. But a lot of these Mason buildings don't have any windows on the upper floors, the top highest floors. I'm like, that's really weird. Like you imagine going into a
crematorium, baby.
Well, whatever it is.
And they're all made out of concrete and marble. They're all made out of unique materials. These Mason buildings. I'm just saying they are these temples. They're temples, just like a synagogue or a mosque. It's a temple.
If people aren't living in them, I don't think they have the same like occupancy rules. If it's just like if it was a warehouse, you don't have to put windows in a warehouse. So it could be just some escape. Some loophole that they're using.
Maybe.
But I knew a Freemason, and I actually want to talk about that a little bit. They tried to get me into the club twice. They showed up but one time there was no one there. The second time they said they weren't taking any new people. They weren't a very high degree Mason. I think they were like a 5 degree or something. It was very, very low degree Mason. But they told me crazy stories of how they got initiated and the things that they had to do it's crazy stuff. I don't think I can really talk about on YouTube because you get your channel banned. But really, that's what I was told, and I believe I believe it. I believe that that's what these people do. It's really creepy, weird stuff. And this
host is out here like a black man in a police chase looking for a check. That's great. She's like, go ahead, try me. I'll see you in court.
Because at this point, it's like we've already passed the pendulum. It's like let's run it.
Hey, let's get a magician on the show, and he can, just give out all the magician's tricks.
When they ban you on Discord, you're gonna have to start a newsletter where you mail it.
If they ban me on Rumble, that's when I know it's over. But I just wanted to show you guys.
AOL.
I want people to remember. It's like you people are still talking about genetics, and they're needing kids for this code. But I've talked about it many times, and I just do cursory discussions on it because a lot of the stuff gets really complicated. But I'll just show here real quick, which I talked about, and just like what I try to do on the show is find some content creator who kind of summarizes something so it's really consumable, so people can hear it. But a lot of this stuff gets really into the weeds. But when you really see it, it's like the idea that they still need all these old physical functions of collecting data. It's not as necessary as people think that it is. So, yeah, the Jeffrey Epsteins of the world made sense in 2001, 2005, 2008.
Yeah, exactly.
But now that's not real. It's not a real necessity anymore. So, like I've showed before, they've already created infrastructures to the brain, and there's all kinds of dissertations you guys can read, like AI has figured out even larger dimensions of the brain that humans would never able to discover. And it's called the Atlas function, where they start getting down to the molecular structures of how brains communicate. And when you read into what is actually being propagated in any of these structures, what they're saying is that we don't literally need human people anymore. Right. We already got some of the fundamentals. Go ahead. Yeah, I believe those were fundamental. Like, they needed that to get the data to where we're at today.
Also, how are you going to have a girlfriend if you can't grow her in a laboratory?
Well, I mean, at that point, who cares?
Well, that's a really good question.
They're going to have a meme girlfriend.
Yeah, but she might rip your ding-a-ling off. All right, see ya.
All right, see ya.
See ya, Argan bro.
But that's one thing that I think is difficult is people have to realize. That's why I was saying earlier, when you're asking me my idea, I think they're going to always allude there's a necessity for physical. When I'm saying ontology is what is a being? What does it mean to be something? And you can think of it abstractively, like what is a triangle? But you can't put a triangle in my hand. That's a non-material ontology. It's like a platonic form.
Well, unless you can put a triangle in my hand, I don't believe it exists.
Right. Or right. I can talk about something like you as a person, a human. That's a physical ontological thing. And they need people to be stuck in the physical to feel a purpose, a well-being, like a need of my experience. This is existentialism in a nutshell. It's like my experience correlates with what I believe is real. If I don't have an experience, then I don't know what is real. What is life without experiencing something? So they need you to feel something. So if you get too digitalized, then you start just thinking, I'm just a triangle, or I'm just, some abstract platonic form.
Host, you're more than a triangle, I promise.
That's what I'm saying is at this point.
He's a particle man.
Yeah, don't listen to those guys out there.
At this point,
don't let them take you down.
These material things are not necessary. And, you hear about these things, but nobody's thinking about it. Nobody cares, because what they want you to know is, the data's out there. We have infrastructure where we can already gain all this data that we need because we've already built the foundation. Like, we have already studied enough brain structure, enough molecular structure. We can now just feed a lot of this into agentic data systems. But we need now physical people participating in existential reality so we can, because what good is learning all this if you can't play? So they need people to play. So unless you are playing in this world, this data is useless. So if the whole point is control and play, they need you to still feel like, I can play. I do have something. This is real. Because if everybody just gives up and say, oh, yeah, we're just in the Matrix, you're not playing with nobody. You're playing with yourself at that point.
People hate the players usually.
Yeah, and so that's why I believe they have to force...
I hate the game, personally.
They have to force this physical reality to be very real so that they can start to utilize all these abstractive tools. And, their goal is maybe it's going to create a new evolution of human. Because if we can get all these people to still play, we can start distributing all these new technologies on them because they've always been doing experiments. So now they're going to just do it on an abstractive level, and they're going to continue doing these experiments that the agentic services are telling them to do. And you guys are still just playing. I'm saying you. Of course, I'm a participant in it. I'm not excluding none of that. Of course, I'm participating in it. But they're distributing all these tests so then they can say, okay, well, these groups of people clearly don't need to be here. These groups clearly are better. But they can't utilize these testings of the data unless you are really playing in the system.
Yeah.
Let me throw a bit of a curveball into this discussion, because we're talking about people, generally under the bell curve, in the center of the bell curve, right? Just average people. What about if we start looking at people who have religions? And Tom, I know your brain's going places. I
was talking about shapes of skulls. Sorry.
I think Tom needs a drink.
Hey,
Jamie, can you get Tom a drink?
Can you get that Platonic whiskey?
There's some 8 billion people in the world. It turns out that I was doing some research. There's 4 billion Christians 2 billion Christians, 2 billion Muslims. So that's 4 billion people who have a pretty, I would say, stable, serious religion. And that's half the world's population. So when you start, talking about manipulation of people, I think you have to take religion into consideration, because now the one thing is, not all of those 2 billion Christians and 2 billion Muslims are going to be exactly the same. We're not talking cookie cutter people, but all of them have a belief system which in essence should transcend what they're experiencing in the world. So I guess what I'm saying is that's a lot of people that may not fall into the scenario that we're all thinking about here, and that we're thinking. And I just wanted to kind of throw that in there to say, what about all these people who may not fit that? That's an awful lot of people.
Well, let me posit an interesting construct to that, which a lot of religious institutions don't talk about. And me and colleague have talked about it. What happens when AI integrates into the manipulation of religious constructs, theology, and text? See, a lot of the religious institutions, they are kind of oblivious to the idea that most secular individuals understand, is that AI is manipulating data as a whole. They can create infinite articles within seconds. They can alter...
call that the devil.
Right, they can alter text to eternity. But let's just talk about generational propagation. You have the upcoming generations, Gen Alphas and what such, and let's say they're indoctrinated by religious proclivities and they believe in that. But they're indoctrinated through a digital format, a digital text, a digital integration, asking agentic services about theological constructs. And now the biases have already been weighted and tilted and trained inside these agentic structures. And now when they're asking, they might not talk to their pastor or their priest or whoever. They're going to be talking and communicating with these agentic services, which at some point what happens is that the integration of those services is what's influencing them. And so what happens over time, give it about one generation fold, who knows if AI or agentic services are changing data, changing theological biases, constructs, and this is now influencing future generations.
You make a really interesting argument, and I hope I live long enough to see some of this play out, because I would be curious, honestly, because from my experience, and I think it's true if you look at both Islam or Christianity. I think the reason why those religions specifically are so successful is because, and why they're so old, is because they do a good job of passing along the morals and the precepts of their religion to their children, and it keeps getting passed down. And that's why when you're saying what you are, host, it's an interesting argument. Are some of the believers going to fall off to this possible new AI prophet or whatever you want to call it? It certainly is possible. But, I've witnessed a lot of Christian families. They stick very closely to tradition. And even if they embrace technology, their basis still goes back to the Bible. And
that generation might.
What's that?
That generation might.
I don't know. I have to be hard pressed. I mean, it would have to be something so altering. I mean, it would have to absolutely blow you out of the water that you would stop.
What happens if, like, John 3:16 starts to get altered by one word every year? What if the Quran, there's like a couple words shifted here a year? And what if, this over here gets shifted? And it's just a little bit. It's very subtle. And the next thing you know, by one generation later, you have big transformational differences. And what if your priests are starting to learn and take theological ideas from agentic services, and now they're teaching, we have a better understanding?
I don't think it would happen like that. Unless somehow they burned all the Qurans and Bibles, whatever. But I think it would be the internet, because everybody uses electric Qurans, electronic
That's what I'm
Bibles
saying, like young
now.
generations.
Yeah, so they're not using paperback anymore. So yeah, and they're not only that, they're not reading it, so they don't even know what it used to say.
That's why I say give it a generation, like 40 years.
Yeah, most Islamic people who subscribe to Islam, like they could be diehard Islamic people. They haven't even read the Quran, and it's unfortunate because. Anyway, that's a whole nother rabbit trail. But so their digital copy could change, like you're saying. Now the hard copy couldn't change, so you would have to wait a few generations to get rid of all the hard copies.
But that's what I'm saying. If it's just subtle, and your leaders start to take what these agentic services tell them as better theology, more consistent, because truth is always looking for consistency.
But hold on a minute.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Why does it matter at all though? Like, why can't you just have one going alongside with the other thing? What's the difference if they're all utilizing it anyway? If I rely on a glass of water, I can still believe in God. It's that you're reliant on it.
Well, it's because of the fragmentation of religion. I mean, everybody's not a Christian. Everybody's not a Muslim. Everybody's not a Buddhist or whatever. And because the fragmentation of it, isolative systems have to exist. Now, you could make the argument there's a nationalized conspiracy to utilize religion as a means to control everybody. And so this nationalized system is going to create fragmented agentic systems, and it's going to be segregated. But
yeah, it's like money, anything, because there's a lot of people that believe it, whether it's true or false. A lot of people believe it. So if you can alter what people believe, then you have this whole group of people. Like Ted was saying, 2 million people, or 2 billion people, 4 billion people in total, and that's just in 2 religions. If you alter their text, you can control these 4 billion people.
And that posits a more interesting idea, what you just said with money, because some AIs could be more valuable based on their capability than others. And who cares what you believe in? I believe that that space is fake and the earth is flat. What the fuck does it matter today? Nothing. It means nothing. It's all just, it's fake if you still have to go do something in reality, is my point. You know what I mean?
Well, it would change a lot, because now we're not going to give taxes we're not going to be okay with giving our tax money to NASA and people who are claiming to leave the Earth's atmosphere, stuff like that. Like there's that, and I've heard there's a lot of flat earthers who make that argument that we shouldn't be paying taxes for fake organizations. And it all just seems, you pull that thread and it goes down that way. And not only that, it goes back to the other thing. What if the government came out tomorrow and said, yeah, the Earth has always been flat. That's the truth. We could actually take you all to the dome. We're going to open up this amusement park. You could actually go to the dome anywhere. We're going to release access to fly to the edges of our Earth, our flat Earth. If they did that, people would probably go do that, And then they'd come in and the whole flat earth would eat itself from within. Everybody would panic because we're in a cage. But before that knowledge, we're all living in this ignorance, which is bliss, according to the guy on Matrix. Nothing changed except for your knowledge of good and evil. Wow, look at that.
And Ted disappeared.
Yeah, I think Ted
Yeah. And for my next trick.
Oh, there it is.
Noah Cloud has been over there.
I know he he reminds me of like the Oracle.
Stoic.
Yeah, he's that Oracle.
He's an old wise man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so one of the things that we have to look at with like Christianity and Islam is where is their core text and where does it come from? It all comes from Judaism. So like Islam and Christianity are really just like redundancy backups for Judaism in case things get too bad for the Jews. There's still all these people out there that are still kind of practicing their religion they can kind of merge into and blend in with. And so like that's its own thing that we can go down on, but we've only got 10 minutes. Anyway.
Time
yeah,
flies.
but I mean,
what I'm talking about.
Religion as a whole, though, is larger than that. It's to believe in the abstract. It's to believe in the idea that there's something out there that can answer my problem.
Yeah, well, you have to. Part of the problem with religion, rather than like what they talk about, like spirituality and things like that, is where you have your own. You have to have your own self-developed sense of like spirituality and who you are and how you fit into the universe. And with like religion, they're just kind of telling you how you do it without you fully understanding. They're just saying, this is your place, just do it, without giving you full context as to why. And that's what I was saying earlier in the chats, is sort of like the Christian and the Islam and the Judaism religions, they teach like dominion and domination over nature rather than what their role within nature is. And so they've lost their sense of responsibility for like what human beings are supposed to be doing within the ecosystem of the planet. And so rather than trying to work with the planet, understand our place within it, they've decided that they're going to conquer and dominate everything that they see. Everything is theirs because their God said that it's theirs. So rather than it belonging to everybody and everything on the planet, because it's already just there, regardless of whether or not God made it or not, so like, did God give fish dominion over the water because that's where they swim and that's where they breathe? And did he give them dominion over the smaller fish because that's what they eat? And we get down to the stuff. It's sort of like,
you can make arguments against that, though, that it's our nature.
I think I can kind of speak to that from a Christian perspective. What God said is man was given right dominion over the earth, but only in the sense that we're taught to be good stewards of it. And that's the key. That's the key, being good stewards, which I think ties into what you were saying. You have to live in a balance with it. You're not supposed to grape the land, Yeah. So yeah.
And so that's what's happened is that
don't you like wine?
Yeah. Yes. No, they've cherry picked that dominion part out, and they've left out the stewardship part, and they've completely abandoned what it means to be a good steward. Because like being a good steward means that you also have to be a good steward to the people, and so you can't just exploit and take advantage of the people, because that's not good stewardship.
Absolutely.
But you can use and mutate these religions and these spiritual concepts to kind of force people into working into your system to make it convenient for you.
Exactly.
That's sort of like if you look back at the historical contributions of the Jewish race for the last 2,000 years, they really haven't done much for anybody until civilization comes in and gives them a structure to do things within. They can't really build or create their own. They can only work within other structures that are created.
Because they're taught that. They're like the managers.
They got some really good food.
Exactly. That's the point, is that they've lost their sense of what they're supposed to be doing in the world. So they believe that they have dominion not only over like the nature, but also over other people, that they're the ones that are above everybody else, God's chosen, blah, blah, blah. But it's always like it's their God. And for the most part,
it's a system.
Yeah, it's a system. It's all a system, and it's been in place for a really long time. And it all goes back.
I always thought this was interesting that they teach you like basically how to like when they go, you can't over the weekend you can't touch anything, but you can find
keep in mind that Christians
are
basically Jews that have accepted Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Jews said, nope, he wasn't the savior, and they're still waiting.
That's a way to corral all of you.
Christians
all of you
follow
your place.
the Judeo, law, and then Jesus came along and said, well, no, we're gonna do it this way now. It's okay.
Jesus
and that's
was more
where Christians came along. So
yeah, well, Jesus is more like telling them that they need to actually follow the law, because the Jews back then were all corrupted and evil, and they were doing fucked up shit, and they were taking advantage of people, and they weren't actually following God's law. And so he came along and said, you actually need to follow God's law because this is what's written in the book. And they got pissed off and killed him because, like, well, you can't have somebody holding us accountable. Fuck you.
Well, that's why I was trying to say earlier is that the overpinning idea of religion, like, again, I don't want to isolate it just to Judaic overlinings or Abrahamic overlinings. But any religion itself, like I'm saying, the underpinning is to solve problems that you believe are abstractive. It's too big for you. And so what do? Like the archaic pagan gods, like, let me pray and maybe they'll let it rain. Let me offer some of this stuff and maybe my crops will grow. Maybe I'll go talk to this oracle over here and maybe they'll let me have some babies. The ideas of religion's overpinning is there's something greater than me as a problem. So I need something greater than me to solve these problems. And now there's multiple fractions of that. But ultimately, if you go as far back as you can in civilizational thought, they've always had these things. They would call it, the gods sent down lightning or something. And, oh, wow, there's fire over here. What is this? And it changed their life. And now they're worshiping fire. And now they're hoping they can replicate this fire coming down from heaven again. So now let's see, maybe we can pray or talk or communicate. Maybe, maybe if we, isolate this fire idea. And so the idea is there's something that either provides services that enhance my future, and therefore it's going to change my future, or it's going to resolve a problem for my future. And so therefore I need to cling to it because there's something here that's going to solidify my future. But it's always abstractive. It's something that is bigger than my reality. I experience something, and now this experience is too big for me to answer. So now I need something bigger than my experience to answer it. And so, I would say if you try to fracture almost any religious belief, you're going to find something where it hits this idea of what I would say is a faith jump. There's existential realities and truths in all these religious fractures. But then there's a faith jump that says, now I, whoever this icon is, if you believe in me or my teachings or whatever, this will solidify. It will guarantee that sometimes it's material, sometimes it's abstractive, but it will guarantee that these things will come to pass, whatever it is. Like if you pray to this God, or if you give these offerings, or if you follow Buddhist teachings, maybe you can hit nirvana or something. The idea is whenever there's a structure at some point, it's like there's a faith leap that says, now this is the thing that's going to take you to guarantee this abstraction. But you can't prove that. Never can prove that. And that's where the fracturing starts happening. Because everybody's going to say, well, my interpretation of that, or my interpretation of this. And that goes into every belief system.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why it's called faith. Because it's all personal. It's what you believe.
Yeah, but I'll even make a deeper argument is that goes down to even secular constructs. It's religious and abstracts too. You believe in a government that you don't know really what they know, what they're saying, what they're doing. You believe in the economical system that you don't really know what's really the value of anything. You don't know if the dollar is really worth this or not. You're just taking economical models and you're believing it. You're taking all this data that these universities are pushing out, saying this is discoveries. We have figured this out. This is all true, but you've never hands-on touched any of this stuff. You've never seen anything, but you just believe it. And so I would say that's just religious.
I want to say something funny about the scientific discoveries is that a lot of these big scientific discoveries that everybody heralds, they're all like European discoveries. And like maybe 500 years ago, Europeans were still like shitting in the street, and they didn't really know how to take care of themselves. And they got all
Why's
these
everybody
like,
getting sick?
I know, yeah, and so they all this like scientific knowledge that they claim to be discovering nowadays, all these ancient civilizations already had figured out, and so Europeans are just now rediscovering it, and it's a big deal because now they know how to like understand and implement it. So it's just like the dominant culture now understands the information that already existed.
But you can't dismiss like what's happened in the past 200 years as just being that, because
One thing it's getting up on 7:00 here. I just one thing I wanted to mention earlier. Tom was saying how he kind of wanted to pick your brain, host, to see how you thought about things. And I was thinking to myself, I'm not as nearly as fascinated with your brain as I am with, the other guy, colleague. He's probably much more fascinating to pick apart. So we kind of know where you're coming
there's
from.
There's a whole substructure under colleague that he doesn't let people see.
He's actually no idea what's under that hat.
Yeah, there's like this whole matrix wiring system underneath that hat.
It's called hair.
Sure it is. That's what they want you to believe.
Well, I gotta say I'm flattered by all of you.
Well, the quiet one in the room, like we got Noah Cloud and colleague over here, they've been the most reserved. They're usually the ones with the largest expansive functions of thought. They're reserving it.
That's what it is.
Pokes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're the smartest in the room.
Well, smart is overrated. It's functionality. Well, like I said before,
We're the most functionable in the room.
Yeah, because what good is having all this data if you can't use it? You can't apply it.
We're the biggest users in the room too.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, ultimately, those are the ones that people seek. Or the ones that can make application.
Yeah.
Well, anything else you guys want to add on before we chime out of this live?
No, we'll go ahead and get going.
Any last words?
Yeah, as always, it's hard to believe that we're sitting here talking for 3 hours. It goes so quickly. There's just so much information and insight and just really great thought. So if I had a hat on, I'd take a hat off. But
maybe on the next episode we can turn it into actionable data.
Yeah, I mean, if there's something you guys want to specifically talk about next week, also put it in the Discord. I'll take a glance at it, and we can go over that too. But I don't know how much you guys are familiar with Hegelian dialectics, but what it is talking about two things that seem oppositional, and they seem like paradoxes. But when they collide together, a new emergent idea happens. And of course, I don't want to get too much into that because that turns into like weird Marxian versus like a third right kind of functional talks. But just the idea of philosophy, that's what it feels like. I always look for dialectics, which you have conflicts that seems paradoxical. But instead of me seeing it as these are total oppositions and there's no finding way of equilibrium here, I believe that as these two collide, maybe a new emergent better idea can happen. And so I like these kind of interactions because it feels like a real dialectic.
Cool. Some people like a monolectic.
Yeah, that's true. They have that monologue in philosophy.
You said it's the emergent process.
Yeah.
Don't forget to post that paper, the rebuttal to Peter's video. I'd really like to read that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate all you guys. As always, I'd like for all you guys to come back in. And, Oregon Bro, I appreciate him coming in, too, because, he's part of the younger generation. And his thoughts on that helped me because I learned from that because, of course, everybody has life. And so he has children and all that going on. And that's tough. But knowing what he thinks, because he has an idea scope of what's going on in the world in his mind. And then for me to take that data and say, well, maybe this is what I thought, but this is coming from a Gen Z, and this is insightful. This is an interesting perspective, and that solidifies more things in my mind that maybe I need to adjust. So I appreciate. So if you're hearing this, Mr. Oregon Bro, I appreciate you coming on, and you should come on again.
Iron Man, I'm reading your comments, buddy, and I'll tell you this: you got to come on the show and run your track.
Yeah, I know. Iron Man needs to come on.
Do, buddy.
I can put on more here. I got 4 on here. I can put on as many as people want. If we want 6 people, 8 people, I can put more people on here. But Iron Man needs to come on here too.
Tom and Iron Man
going
head
big
to
old
head.
mouth hug.
Yeah. Well, anyways, I appreciate you guys. You guys all should come back next week. I think this is great. I appreciate the conversation as always. But as always, that's colleague. I'm host. And this is the Matrix Network. Forced by hands beyond my scope.
Merry Christmas.
But we'll see you guys in the next one.
Happy Festivus.
Yeah. Yes, here's the 3 hours that chatbot can never reproduce.
See ya.
I'll be back.
See you guys.